Close the doors of your mind, close the gates of your mind, close the gates of your palace, your ba'ith, your ahal, your ohel, your tent, your mishkan, your mikdash, your body, your temple that you dwell inside, where to Aaron's rod that's budded, the 10 Commandments, where the mercy seat, where Yahuwah sits above the mercy seat. Bring your body to center, bring your thoughts to center. For today is a day of freedom. Today is a day of Kahoshi. Today is a day that Yahuwah has given to us as a Natan, a gift, that we should cease from our labors on this 364-day cycle, on this shabath, that we may understand Him who sits in the highest Shamayim above all Allahims and judges in the midst of the Allahims. So today we acknowledge the one who made all the har of the earth, all the mountains, all the nahar, all the rivers and streams on the surface under the earth, and on top of there, even the rivers and streams that flow from His mouth, and sits in the highest Shamayim above all, even above the 13th Shamayim, Yahuwah Allahim. So we acknowledge Him as our Allahim. Why? By us observing His Shabbat. For in 6 days Yahuwah made the Shamayims and the Arats, and on the 7th day He rested. Even as we are, He said, you rest from your selfish self, you rest from your selfish mind, and you rest from who you are as an individual person. For ourselves, and we know ourselves, if one does know themselves inwardly and outwardly, then one understands why one needs to rest from their flesh and to submit to the Ruach, for that is the end of all life on this earth. That is the end of all things. To go from this world to your Nefash, to the Nefesh, to the world of the higher nature. So this is the book of Ephesians chapter 4. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 1. Ephesians chapter 4 and verse 1. It says, I therefore, a prisoner of Yahuwah, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you have been called. So everybody can't hear the call, right? You can hear it, when somebody call you on the phone, everybody can't hear the phone ringing, especially if it's on silent. If it's on silent, nobody can hear you. Nobody can hear the call when it comes. But you actually know when your phone rings. Even if it's on silent for some reason, all you see is a light. You be like, that's a call for me. You just see a light. That's all you see. It says, walk in the manner worthy of the calling that which you have been called, with all humility. So you have to walk in a new ana, sana, kana. You have to walk in that. You have to walk in a new. You have to walk in humility. With all humility. So that ain't just a little bit of humility. That means all. In everything it requires. Whether it's your emotions have to be humble, your thought process, your mukashba has to be humble, your selfish ambitions, everything you have to do on a day-to-day basis, everything has to be in humility. And gentleness, and everything has to be anu. All gentleness, all humility, with all that's within you. Barak Yahuwah's Kudash name. And it says, with patience, you gotta have patience. Why? Because you're gonna be like Qahalath. You're gonna be like him. You're gonna have all the names. You're gonna have all of the attributes of what somebody or a person should be, but then you have no patience and you lose on your salvation. You lose on your inheritance. Bearing with one another in love. Why? Because you're gonna have to bear a lot of things, especially when you come from different walks of life, different ways you grew up and sins in your youth. Some patterns one practice way more than other patterns, and some things are easy to put away, and some things are not easy to put away. It all depends on how much you did it and how many years you did it for. So therefore, it's ingrained in your behavior, and you will see it manifest in certain situations. Right? Eager to maintain the unity of the Ruach in the bond of Shalom, peace. Right? So it's an eager thing. You got to be eager to be peaceful. Why? Because if you ain't got no shalom inside of you, there ain't no way you're going to create shalom on the outside of you and become Yahuwah's children. Because you got to create peace. You got to make it. Why? Therefore there is one body. He said Akkad. Just like it was in the first day of creation when he Ruach Marakaf Al Panim, he said Akkad Yun. It's always been like that. That's the first thing you need to know. That's the first thing you need to know. That's why Bereshit chapter 1 says Bereshit bara Elohim, the beginning, the creation of the Elohims. Right? Why? Because he's telling you what I made. And then you look at every single word, and every single beginning of every single word, you see, behold the nail, the peg, behold the nail. Why? Because you have to understand the four corners of a garment. You have to understand the four corners of an altar. You got to understand the four corners of your earth. You got to understand 4 tent pegs keep a tent down so you can meet with Yahuwah. Right? 6, 6, 6, 6. That's 4 of them. And that's all a part of it. That's the 6th letter of the alphabet. Ooh. Right? And all 4 corners got to know who he is. There is one body, one Ruach, just as there is one Ruach. Right? So if he said, how many Ruachs you got? Because there's only one Ruach. So if you got a Ruach, he said, so you got the same Ruach I got. But if you don't got the same, so why are you doing that? Why are you practicing that? Why are you operating in that idol worship? Why are you operating in that lifestyle? Why are you operating in that fornication? Why are you operating in that adultery? Why are you operating in that understanding? Why are you operating in that? In robberies? He says, there's a one Ruach, just as you were called in one hope, Tikva, that belongs to your call. Right? There's only one hope. So depending on type of call you got, because some people get a call from Satan and some people get a call from Yahuwah. It all depends on which call you want to answer, right? Because he's going to call you. It all depends. One master, one Amunah, and one immersion. There's only one master. There's only one Emunah, and there's only one emergent, and one Elohim, Father of all, who is over all. So that means without exception, that's everybody. And through all and in all. Right, so this is the book of Proverbs, Masterly Proverbs chapter 30. In verse 21, Masterly Proverbs, verse 30, verse 21. Masterly Proverbs 30 and 21. Masterly Proverbs 30 and 21. It says, under 3 things the earth trembles, right? The earth quakes. So you think about how the earth shakes, right? The earth is a living being, right? Just like the earth was here, the earth was without form and void. When Yahuwah in the first day, that's what you need to understand. That's why he said there's only a Akkad. There's only one body. You need to understand where it was in the beginning, because the earth was without form and void when Yahuwah, when he said Akkad Yum. So the Adat's been here before you was even created. Under 3 things, the earth trembles. See, the earth already been trembling. The earth already knows it can't take certain things. Under 4, it cannot bear up, right? Notice how they keep using 4. We said, why would they use 4? You got to understand it. A slave, when he becomes king, he said the earth trembles when the slave becomes king. Because you know who only person that can do that? Who can turn a slave, a lower being, into a malak, second in command of Mizraim? Who can do that? The earth be shaking when that happens. He be like, man, Yahuwah done did something. He done spoke, and things just happen. The earth shake when that happens. Right? Guess what happened? A fool, when he is filled with food, the earth starts shaking. When a fool gets his mouth full of food, he said the earth starts shaking. He's like, man, you done put that stuff in your mouth. And you a fool. He said, man, the earth starts shaking. The earth be afraid. Verse 23, an unloved woman, when she gets a husband, he said, man, a woman ain't never been loved in her life. When she get a husband, then the earth be shaking. He like, man, her father, everything that happened, right, in her family. He said, man, you got a husband now. He's not an earthquake. He said, man, the earth shake. And he says, and a maidservant, when she displaces her mistress, he's like, the whole earth shakes. He said, so why is this important? Because this is very important, right? Because most people ain't. He said when you start to understand it, right? So this is the book of Proverbs. This is the book of Proverbs. I think it's 16. Actually, there's Psalms, Tithing 103. Psalms 104. Psalms Tithing 104 and 3. No, 104 and 30. Psalms 104 and 30. Psalms 104 and 30. Let me get out of here. Yeah. It says, let's go to verse 29. When you hide your face, they are dismayed. And when you take away their breath, they die and return to the dust. Why? Because dust thou art, and dust thou shalt return. That's why when Qahalath and Ananias and Fire, they all died, they start blaming other people, not even knowing it was Yahuwah that did it. When you send your ruach, they are created. So just like when you go down to the pit, there's only one way you're going to get up out of there. So what's the point of going down to Sheol, to the pit? You got to confess your sins, and you don't come up with the ruach. That's the whole point of casting you down. That's the whole point of bringing you low. So when you go down low, your whole point of it is for you to rise with the ruach. Isn't that what Yahushua did? He was down there 3 days and 3 nights. He said that same ruach being you, which are offering Yahushua Mashiach, it'll also quicken your mortal body, which means it'll gonna bring you to life from the Sheol after you start making right with the things you did. But that's the whole point of it. And guess what? And when you send your ruach, they are created, and you renew the face of the ground. He's like, man, he said, be renewed in the ruach of your minds. That's how you rise. Your renewal. Why do you think he cast you down? Why do you think he take everything? You say, man, why he start taking stuff? Because he wants you to understand where your actual kum is going to be, your real elevation. And you renew in the face of the ground. May Yahuwah endure forever. May Yahuwah rejoice in his works. Who did it? Who did it all? He said, man, the earth be shaking when these type things be happening. He said, why? Because when he bring you down, just understand the earth be shaking. Especially if you called according to his purpose. Verse 32, it says, may Yahuwah rejoice in his works, who looks on the earth and it trembles. Man, it's 4 things, man, the earth be shaking. And you be thinking like, why the earth quaking? Because Yahuwah doing things and you don't even understand it. And you go on all the GS and look at all the earthquakes everywhere, and you be like, man, what's going on? What's going on? He said you might need to look while you're at the lowest point in your life. While you down low and you got to confess your sin. That's why the earth's shaking. Because Yahuwah looking at all his works that he doing on the earth. And guess what? Who touches the mountains and they smoke? He's like, why are all this stuff happening? Because Yahuwah doing a work in the earth inside of you, and he got you down at your lowest point, so you can actually do what? Confess your sins and come out of Sheol with the Ruach. Right? Guess what it says? I will sing. Guess what it says? Who looks on the earth and it trembles? Who touches the mountains and they smoke? Get what he said. Verse 33. I will sing to Yahuwah as long as I live. He's like, man, look at here. He said, you ain't going to stop me. He said, you're not going to stop me from doing it. As long as I live. You know what? And I will sing praise to my Elohim while I have my being. While you still got it. You know why? May my meditation be pleasing to him, for I rejoice in Yahuwah. He said, may my meditation be pleasing to him. My hugga, my mental faculties, my yetzer, my imagination, my makashaba on a 364-day cycle. Why? Let the wicked be no more. How you gonna get wickedness out of you? You say, man, you know what? I ain't gonna sing. I ain't gonna praise Yahuwah. I ain't gonna do nothing. And guess what? And then you gonna always have wickedness on the inside of you. Man, you're gonna be singing other things. You be like, man, why am I singing that all the time? You notice how you be singing the song and something it be popping in your head, things from like 20 years, 30 years ago. You be like, man, I guess I wasn't singing to Yahuwah when I had my being, because that stuff popped right back in my head. And now I want to sing them songs. You like, man, I need to get that thing out of my head, because you already know what that's going to do. Boy, you gonna want to do a whole bunch of other stuff. You be like, man, I got to get this stuff out of my head. Right? You got to move that stuff out the way, right? You got to start singing, praising Yahuwah, because if you don't, man, you're gonna be thinking about all types of stuff, especially listening to like killing and rap music or fornication music, right? All they talk about is fornication and sleeping around. I assure you, that's gonna be the first thing you be thinking about, right? And that shouldn't be the first thing you think about. But that's just the way the world is, right? And if you did it in your youth, that's what it's gonna be. It's a residue behavior of what you used to do. That's all it is. It's just showing you the residues of the behaviors that you've been translated from, and they come back and they just show you like, yeah. That's why they play it over and over again when you go places. You be like, man, why they play that song, right? But that's just the whole point of it. Let the wicked be no more. Barak Yahuwah, oh my soul, right? That's what you gotta tell yourself when that stuff happens. Barak Yahuwah, oh my soul, my nefesh, because your soul know him very well, your nefash. That's the being that know him. That's the being that he breathed into this corpse that we got. And he breathed into the body, and he breathed that nefash inside of you. Barak Yahuwah, oh my soul, and praise Yahuwah, right? That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point, right? So this is the book of Proverbs 18, 5 through 9. 18, 5, Proverbs 18, 5 through 9. It is not good to be partial to the wicked or deprive the righteous of justice. He said it's not good. This is not a good thing. This is Proverbs 18, 5 through 9. It's not good to be partial to the wicked or deprive the righteous of justice. Why? You can't even do that for yourself. Your nefesh is depending on you to not do that for yourself, to be partial when you have wickedness in yourself, and to deprive the righteous of justice, right? Why? Because you need justice. Verse 6, a fool's lips walks into a fight, right? So we look at the words that we speak, right? Because he said, a fool's lips walk into a fight, and his mouth invites a beating, right? Because everybody didn't grow up the same way. Everybody didn't grow up in the same neighborhood, same location, didn't have the same upbringing. Everybody's life wasn't peaceful and loving and compassionate, right? So you say the wrong thing, you're going to find yourself getting beat down or a beating, or you're going to get into a fight. Why? Because this is all part of it. That's why all the things that one has done throughout their youth until present, they stay with you. And you say the wrong thing, then it becomes round one. Right? But it says right here, right? So you look at that word, you say a fool invites a beating. So this says shabath, right? So that's the lips. Kitsil, that's the fool. Kitsil, ba'ul, that is, it says walks or goes into. It says that goes into a reeb, a fight, barib. What is a barib? It's a fight, a quarrel, right? And then you have what? Pa, they say they got P.O., right? Pa, his mouth, La, and it says Malamuth, Kura, right? It invites a beating. Mahalamuth, right? It invites a beating. Right? Verse 7 says, a fool's mouth is his ruin. So how many times have you said things out of your mouth and it became your ruin? Right? Whether it was towards somebody or not towards somebody, or maybe you just cursed inside of your body and it became your ruin, right? It ruined your day. You know how people say you get up and you start to do things and you start to go about your day, sit in the house, walk away, lie down, you rise up, and then it ruins your day because it's called the fool inside of you. You know, I say you played the fool, right? Especially when you start playing with the fool inside of you. right? The fool's mouth is his ruin. It's going to ruin everything. Because that words that you say out of your mouth can. And his lips are a snare to his what? To his nafash. To his nefesh. That's what Yahuwah breathed into man's ish, breathed into Adam. And he became a living nefesh, a living soul. It's going to be a snare for your soul. How many words did Adam speak when Yahuwah breathed into his nostrils and he became a living soul? Nothing. He didn't say nothing. No, he breathed into his nostrils in the nefesh. After that, it all depends. Once he breathed into your nostrils, and he ain't say nothing, but then after he got out of that state, then the real test started happening. Right? Once you get the Ruach, you come out of Sheol, then the real test start happening. Ain't no test. Your test happen when you go down to Sheol, confess your sins, get rid of all your stuff, and then you rise up with the Ruach. Then you're going to get tested in your Nefesh. Because your Nefesh know it very well. That's when you're going to get tested. It ain't going to be tested while you still in, anybody, you ain't got no self-control. Once you get that self-control, that's when all the problems start happening. That's when you got to really push yourself. You got to push yourself to be a certain way. Right? Or your Nefesh going to be in trouble. It says the words of a whisperer are like delicious morsels. They go down to the innermost parts of the belly, right? So inner parts, right? It goes to the inner parts of your body, right? That's your liver, your kidneys, your intestines, right? It goes to your heart. It goes to your gogaros, your throat, right? It goes all inside of your body, right? And all these things are a part of it. Whosoever is slack in his work is a brother of him who destroys. Why? Because you can't be partial to the wicked and deprive the righteous of justice. So if you slack in it, you destroy people. When you don't say nothing, male and females, Zakar Nakaba, you get other people destroyed. And the blood gonna be on your hands. Just like he told Yakaziel Ezekiel. Because Ezekiel heard it. Matter of fact, he heard a still small voice. And then went to the innermost part of his belly. And he heard it in his right ear. He heard it there too. And guess what? Just like Shemuel, right? I don't care if you're a little child. He said, man, I'm only like, I ain't even old enough. I'm only 10 years old. It don't matter. Whoever say something, you gotta say it. It don't matter. How the person feels, it don't matter how old they are. How young, it don't matter. Once you who say something, you gotta say it. It don't matter. That's why people can't. He said, I can't never. You say if you can't take correction from a little child, a little tiny baby, a little 10-year-old, to a 20-year-old, to a 30-year-old, and you 70 years old, just understand you ain't following Yahuwah, and you don't know His Torah, because Yahuwah has no respect of persons. Because whoever don't want to do it, you're gonna find somebody to do it. You available? Right? And this ain't. He said you available? This ain't. He said this ain't no jagged edge. This is a two-edge. You available? If you are available, right? And that's the whole point of it, right? Right. So that word for fools, it's ketzil. It means the stupid person, fool, fellow, dullard, simpleton, arrogant one, with his lips walk into a fight. So that mean you already know what is getting ready to take place, and you already know that it's a snare for your soul, which means you already know this. So he said you stupid. It means you ain't really learned nothing. It also means fat. You fat because you must be a fool right now to go into a fight. A fool, you turn into a fool, and you become stupid, and now you fat. You must have ate a lot of food that day too. You must have stuffed your face because now your mind ain't thinking, because your gut go to your mouth. It go to your mouth go down your mouth to your gut to your mind. And guess what? Now your mind blind because you got all that food to digest, and the only thing your mind thinking about is all the food you got to get rid of. And then now you done walk into a fight, and now guess what? You stupid and you silly. And that's why it talks about that. Oh fools, how long you simple ones, you love simplicity. Because you silly now. That's a silly thing to do. It's a stupid thing to do, right? Especially when you know. You say, I can't do that. A fool's lips walks into a fight, right? Walks into a what? That word for fight is reeve. It walks into strife. Right? These are all a part of it walks into the strife, dispute, quarrels, controversy. Right? When you understand something, when you are a manager, you can't be walking in no fights like this. You can't. Whether male, female, is a car knockabout over a household. Because think about it, if you're a woman in a household and you get into a quarrel and a fight, something can happen to you. And then what are the children going to have? Or the people that's depending on you. And you in jail. Or you in prison. Or you in a situation where everything is destroyed. What are they going to do? How are they going to depend on you then? You're going to be calling, making calls, trying to get somebody else to do it for you. Because you made a mistake. But it also means strife, dispute, contention, controversy, adversary. Right now, you must love Satan, because he done hit your buttons, and now you going toe to toe with the adversary. And while you fighting with the adversary in the physical reality, not even knowing that Satan just laughing the whole time. It also means controversy, dispute. Right. These are all a part of it. Why? He said, fool walks into a fight. Right? So this is the book of Galatians chapter 5, verse 20. Galatians chapter 5, verse 18. Galatians chapter 5, verse 18. But if you are led by the Ruach, you are not under the law, the Torah. Now the works of the flesh are evident: sexual immorality, impurity, sensuality, idolatry, sorcery, enmity, strife. He said, you're a fool. You are a fool. You are a reed. Jealousy, fits of anger. You are a reed. It also means dissension, divisions, envy, drunkenness, orgies, and things like these. That's what this is. We're looking at things like these. You know how people say, that ain't on there, so I can still do it. No, it's called things like these, right? You know, I don't need to understand that, right? So this is the book of, same book, actually going over to. Going to 1 Corinthians. Actually, no, go to Titus. Titus 3:1. Titus 3:1. Titus 3:1. Titus 3:1. It says, remind them to be submissive to the rulers and authorities, to be obedient and ready for every good work. Why? Because you gotta be ready for every good work, not evil work. This is evil work. Ready to speak evil of no one, because you know a fool's lips gonna bring you to a fight. When you start speaking when you start speaking evil of no one, to avoid quarreling. You are a reed. To be gentle. We just talked about all gentleness, all humility, all gentleness, right? This is now you're getting tested. You know how I say? You ain't getting tested when you're in the fosh, ain't getting like no snares and nothing. When you gotta go submit to all humility, all gentleness, right? That's a whole nother different. That's a fight, I assure you. To be gentle, right? Avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy. Perfect courtesy to all people. So that means everybody. Boy, that's a fight. Ooh, that's a total transformation. Especially if people done you wrong in the past. Ooh, that's a tough situation you in. And guess what? You're gonna have to control your tongue too. But guess what it says? For we ourselves were once foolish, disobedient, led astray, slaves. How you gonna turn a slave? Man, the earth trembles when a slave become king. So you know when you a king, you can't drink strong drink. Man, my son, they're going to pervert your judgment. Man, going to make you get in a lot of quarrels and fights. Fool's lips. Isn't that what his mother said? And people say, why Jerusalem be saying that? Because that's why women of Jerusalem supposed to be saying that. Now, they like get drunk and get gathered abroad like Sirach 26. You understand, you're not going to get, yeah, you know, you shouldn't be drinking strong drink. They be like, let me drink it with you, right? And it's over with. You ain't going to never get that. They're going to want to get drunk with you. They ain't going to be talking about no judgment. They're going to be fighting with you, going back and forth. To avoid quarreling, to be gentle, and to show perfect courtesy toward all people. For we ourselves were once foolish, disobedient, led astray, slaves to various passions and pleasures, passing our days in malice and envy, hated by others and hating one another. So that means we were hated by others because we were fighting, and we were hating each other, because that's what happens. How does when a slave? He said 4 things the earth trembles when a slave become a king. You become a malak now. Now you gotta become king. And there's certain things kings can't do. Malak can't do. Malka can't do either. None of y'all can do it. But guess what it says? Because you gotta be good managers. He said we gotta be good managers of everything. Our household, our family, even ourselves, even who we are. Even the disobedient ones who don't want to obey Yahuwah, who don't want to keep his commandments. Yeah, he said you gotta be a good manager over them too. Because you already know what's gonna happen to them. What's gonna happen to them if they don't keep Yahuwah's commandments? What's gonna happen to them if they're disobedient? They are slaves to them. They are slaves to things that you would never do, right? You're not supposed to do, right? And you already know how that feels. Verse 4, but when the goodness of the loving kindness of Yahuwah Elohim, our Savior, appeared, he saved us. So he said, man, he saved us, boy, because we was doing it. And if you still got the residue of it, understand, he saved you now. Not because of works done by us. Please don't be thinking, you know how people say, I done did this and that, boasting on their accolades. They got their resume, put it up there. That's all they talk about. I assure you ain't got nothing to do with you. Not because of the works done by us in righteousness. You can do all the feast days, cogs, muars, and everything you can do. You can wear all the clothes and everything, look good, feel good, and you can look all great. But he said, not by righteousness of our own, but according to his own mercy. Right? How did Safanian get out of Sheol? How he get out of Sheol? He said, man, you prevailed, man. You confessed that. You was like, man, Yahuwah have mercy on me, a sinner. And he prevailed. Guess what? And he saved us, not because of the works done by us in righteousness, but according to his own mercy, by the washing of regeneration and the renewing of the Hudash Ruach. That's why you gotta be renewed in the Ruach in your mind. That's why he bringing everybody down. That's why he taking everything down. He said, man, this thing going down. Yeah, you gotta go back and hit the ground. Because he's trying to renew the Ruach inside of you. Whom he poured out on us richly through Yahushua Mashiach, our Savior, so that being justified by his kind, we might become heirs according to the hope of eternal life. What we talk about, you're the beneficiaries. You're the beneficiaries of somebody dying. Just like when somebody dies, then the other people come along, they're the beneficiaries of the inheritance of that person's death. It's the same thing. You are now the beneficiaries of that person's death, man. You get paid too. I know people don't think that. In natural reality, you will. But I'm just saying, though, that's naturally. I'm just saying how much you will get with Yahushua's blood. And guess what? Verse 8. The saying is trustworthy. And I want you to insist on these things, so that those who have believed in Elohim may be careful to devote themselves to good works. That's what you should be doing. Courtesy to all people. Oh boy. But Satan rising up now. You already know Satan gonna rise up. Courtesy to all people. Oh, that's Satan rising up. He don't want that, right? So that word for beating is mahalama. He said, man, you say a fool's lips walk into a fight and his mouth invites a beating. That means strokes, right? You call somebody blows, strike, stroke. Right? Just like when people they call you a nigger, which means not generous, but you say the wrong words, you're gonna get beating, stroke, strikes. Right? You blank, SHITF, F-U, right? You say that. You say the right words. You blank, your wife is a B, right? Right? You going off. You going down. That's a fool. You supposed to be courtesy to all people. All people. Gentle. All humility. That ain't humble. That's something else. That ain't the same ruach. That's a whole nother ruach. You say, how many ruachs you got? We just read there's only one ruach. So that means that ruach is a whole nother being. That ain't got nothing to do with Yahuwah's image. And people say, no, that's not true. Yeah, it is. That's a beating. And you know, when you're a manager, you're not going to get a lot of business. Ain't nobody want to come over, man. They had a restaurant. I seen it. They had a restaurant. They curse you out, right? They serve you, right? I'm like, man, I want to eat there for nothing. You would never see me eating there. I assure you, if they saying that out of their mouth, they putting something else in your food, right? This Marshalli Proverbs, continue on, Marshalli Proverbs 18, 10 through 7. The name of Yahuwah is a strong tower, so it's the same book. After you get through all that, after you start to understand it, this is the name of Yahuwah is a strong tower. The righteous man runs into it and is safe. Why? Because when you're in those situations, you got to run to the name of Yahuwah. You got to run to it in Barak His Qahalath's name. You got to get up out of there. Why? A rich man's wealth, guess what it says, verse 11. A rich man's wealth is his strong city, and like a high wall in his imagination. He said, man, it's just like a high wall in his imagination. What does he mean by that? Verse 12, before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. But humility comes before honor. Submit to all humility and all gentleness. How you gonna get honor? People say, I want honor. Humility. That's how you get it. Man, just submit and be an abad, servant, right? And just be a servant. Verse 13. If one gives an answer before he hears, so if you give an answer before you hear it, it is folly and shame. So you got to hear first before you give an answer. He says, if one gives an answer before you hear, you got to hear first. Because you know, when you get quick to the mouth, you start saying things and you be like, man, I need to step a few back, I need to listen a little quick, right? You know what it is? It's folly and shame, because it should be a shame for you to not to shema. When you're just talking and you're not hearing anything, it should be a folly and shame for you. Because a little folly leavens the whole lump. You know what I'm saying? A little leaven leavens the whole lump. A little folly leavens the whole lump. Why? Because that's the whole point. This book, Ecclesiastes, man, just hearing can be folly. Not hearing is folly. People say, nah, it is. That's folly too. Everything, man, people say, man, and so everything is evil now. No, everything ain't evil. This is Ecclesiastes, Qahalath, chapter 10, and verse 1. Because you got to obey all humility, because you know, before destruction, a man is haughty. So you got to obey in all humility and all gentleness. Verse 10 and 1, Ecclesiastes, Qahalath 10 and 1. Dead flies make the perfume's ointment give off a stench. He said, man, you imagine getting perfume and you got flies in it. You go to the store, get some Prada, some Dolce & Gabbana, and some of these other coins, and you got a fly in it. You be like, dead flies make perfume or ointment give off stench. You get some nice oil and it smell good, but they got a fly in it. I assure you, you go a little deep in the ingredients, it smells like something else, right? But it says, so a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. So you want all this honor. Going back to Marshalli Proverbs 18:12. Before destruction, a man's heart is haughty. A woman. But humility comes before honor. When you start to submit to all humility and all gentleness, then you get honor. But if you got a little folly, it outweighs all your honor that you want. And you know how you don't have no honor? If one gives an answer before he hears, you got to hear. It is folly and shame, which means if you ain't here, you got a little folly. And it outweighs the honor that you so desire, because you ain't here the first time. You ain't even here. You just running, talking, saying things, and now you're in a fight. Because you're not really listening. And now you're in a fight. And now you're a fool. You're a kitsil. And now you got to, he said, you're inviting the beating. It's going to happen too. A man's ruach will endure sickness. So when you got the ruach, remember the flesh, ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. When Satan started attacking you, you're going to have to endure. It's not in game. People think, especially when you start opening your mind up. And you know you're supposed to do it. You got to endure all that. You're going to have to endure all the things that's going to come at you. You're going to have to do it. This is Peter, 2 Peter. You're going to have to endure it. Because you knew. Right, this I think it's... You're going to have to endure it. This is 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 18. 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 18. 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 18. So when you be knowing stuff, people say you got to endure when you start you get punished for it, and you knew. Oh, I made a mistake. Well, it don't matter. 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 18. Servants, be subject to your masters with all respect. He says all humility, all gentleness, courtesy to all people. Oh man. Right? Not only to the good and gentle, but also to the unjust. Ooh, man, that's courtesy to all people. That's a tough situation right there. For this is a gracious thing, mindful of Elohim, one who endures sorrow while suffering unjustly. Oh, man. Verse 20, for what credit is it if when you sin, you be beaten for it? We just reading that. He said, man, look at here. A man's ruach has to endure sickness, right? You done did evil. You done sinned. You got a little folly. Guess what? And you get beaten for it. You endure. You got to endure sickness when it comes, because he's going to attack your health. You say, yeah, he's going to attack your health. Because you want to live. I want to live, right? Right. But at the same time, but when you do good and suffer for it, you endure, right? But guess what? This is gracious in the sight of Elohim. So whether you sin and you got to endure whatever you happen to you, or whether you don't sin, you got to endure what you have. You still got to endure it. It says, for to this you have been called. And I say, have you answered the call? You know, say, man, he done called you now. You saw a light. Your phone's on silent though, but he said, I know you saw that phone light up. He's like, man, I ain't answering that phone. I'm not answering that. You know, this right here, you hear this, you ain't gonna answer this call. He's like, man, I ain't answering this phone. I ain't coming to that, because Mashiach also suffered for you. So because Yahusha did what he did. That's the only reason. He had to endure all that foolishness by the Yahudim, Yasharal, the elders, Levi, Louis, the Luites. He had to deal with all the people falsely accusing him, smack him in the face, punch him in the neck, blindfolding him, putting a scarlet and red robe on. He had to endure all of that. He had to be the hyssop and the blood that you dip the blood in the hyssop in, right? He had to do all that. Purple and red. He had to put it all on. He had to be the sign. If they don't believe these last signs, they'll believe his latter sign. Let the blood pour on the ground. Even with Mashah. Guess what? He had to fulfill that too. So what you got? He had to be in prison too. 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Yusuf just got thrown in prison for 30-something years, right? 10 years, right? He got to go to the center of the earth, to Sheol, to a whole other world. For to this you have been called, because Mashiach also suffered for you, leaving you an example, so that you might follow his steps. He committed no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. So all his beatings were because he ain't do nothing wrong. You get beatings because you a fool and you run into a fight. See, Yahusha kept silence when he went into the king's rear. He said, man, he ain't answering not a word, but they still beat his behind down. And he still walked into a fight. he still was mama. He said he still was like beat down, right? He still was doing that. But guess what? When he reviled not reviled in return. When he suffered, he did not threaten, but continued entrusting himself with him who judges justly. So when he suffered, he ain't threatened, which means he wasn't a fool walking to a fight. You know how it's you get threatened, you be like, "What you said? Huh? You know who I am? I'm Yahushua Mashiach. Do you know I could vaporize you right now and destroy you? I could kill you right now. Bunch of Legion Malachim right now and destroy your whole people, right? Your whole priesthood right now." Nah, he didn't do that. He just said, "You know what? I'm gonna endure all of this, because a fool's lips bring him to a fight." Matter of fact, I gotta turn on the one who's a strong tower. And if I want all this honor and shame, I gotta hear before I speak, before I give an answer. That's all he heard. He heard all the things they were accusing him of, and you know what he didn't do? He didn't give him no answer. And guess what? He had no folly and shame, because he had no what? He was no sin. He was a seed found in his mouth. And he heard before he gave an answer. He ain't give an answer either. That's how precise he was. You see how detailed you gotta be with him? That's why I said everybody don't want to follow this person. He said, "I ain't doing that. I know. It's a tough." He said it was easy. He said, "Broad is the way to destruction, narrow, hard is the way to life, and few is gonna do it." Verse 14: "A man's ruach will endure sickness, but a crushed ruach who can bear?" He's like, man, it's over with. An intelligent heart acquires knowledge, right? This is what this is all about. You got to get real intelligent, intellectually, in your intellectual faculties of your body. And the ear of the wise seeks knowledge. So when you got kakam, you're gonna seek bina hakmada'a. Why? Because that's the whole point. You're gonna seek out the one who got it. Yahuwah Elohim. Any man lacks wisdom, let him ask what? Any man lacks wisdom, let him ask who? He gives it to all. So that means he want to give you wisdom to all, so all you can submit to all humility and all gentleness. That's the only reason he's giving you hakmah, wisdom. That's the reason why he's giving it to you. A man's gift make room for him and brings him before the great. Oh man, he bring him before the great. Man, wisdom, but that thing will bring you before the great. Eventually. You know, people say, they speak one time, they need to put me in front of the great people, right? You need to automatically be there. No. All that stuff takes place over a period of time. How long it took Yusuf to get in front of Pharaoh? How long it took him to get in front of Pharaoh? How long it took Mashah to get in front of Pharaoh? It took a long time. I'm finna be in front of him next week. Man, it take a long time to get in front of great people. I got a gift. I need to be in front of him now. It's gonna take, man, that thing might happen 10 years from now, 5 years from now. It might be maybe 5 years before you die, right? Before you get in front of somebody real prominent. You know, seriously, people think this is like, Verse 17, here we go, this is the one. The one who states his case first seems right. Uh-oh. There it is. Everybody, they seem right. Everybody, they state their case. They always seem right. That's what happens. That's what happens. Men, women, right? Children do it too. Such and such did that. Yeah, he did it just like this, right? That's what you always find. Everything that you hear first always seem right. Male, female, husband, wife, pastor, teacher, Marah, prophet. Right? Yeah, you seem like you're right though. Who shall go up first, right? It seems like you're right though. But guess what? Until another comes and examines him. until another comes and examines him, right? And this is deep, right? So that word for, so when it said a rich man is his strong city, and like a high wall is his imaginations, that word for imaginations, because you think your riches are your strength, is mashkith. It means a rich man's wealth is a strong city and like a high wall in his imaginations, right? So his wall, you know how people build a wall around this real high wall? He said, man, you real high up there, ain't you? But it means to show a piece, a figure, an imagination. He says it's just like his high wall is his imagination, his image. That's what your riches are, your idol. You know how they were praying to the Queen of Shamaim and all these idols that people got? He said your riches is your idol. Because you think, because you high up there, you got all that money, all that finances, all them things you got. You got gold, silver, and all that. Guess what it also is? It's your picture. And we just read that in Ezekiel. They all them in the dark. See what the elders doing in the dark? They all sitting there bound to their pictures with their incense. Yeah, that's your incense right there. That's your picture. Right? That's your selfie. Right? Your carved figure. There you go. There go your wood idol. There go your wood idol. You know, they say they're going to put the totality. They always put the cross up there. I'd be like, okay, you know that the cross is the totality symbol of the last letter of the Aleph. But they put it with a cross, but the other ones, they have an X, right? It's like, it look like a totality sign signature exit four corners. Because that's what Yahushua was on when he got out of here. He exited out of this place. That's what it represents. The sign signature exit four corners, which it can be an idol. But Yahushua said something. It also means imagination and conceitedness. It makes you conceit. It makes you conceited. That's why he take it away. People say, why he be taking that stuff away? Because you got it, and now it's your thing. So Yahushua be like, okay, I'm gonna take it away now. Because you sinning with it. That's what happens, man. And people say, man, he took the thing away. Yeah. Right, this is the book of Matthew. He done took the stuff away. He said, man, I gotta take it away. Because that's what he is. Right? This Matthew 24. Matthew 6. Verse 23. Matthew 6 and verse 23. Matthew 6 and 23. But if your eye is bad, your whole body is full of darkness. He said, you see what they do in the dark? When we read in Ezekiel, Qahalath chapter 8. They got their pictures in the dark. Everybody burning incense to their picture. You mean they money, they wealth, they high wall, their idol, their carved image and figure. Right? So if your eye is healthy, your whole body is full of light. But if your eye is bad or evil, your whole body is full of darkness. And if that light in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? He said, Yahuwah said, I see you though. No one can serve two masters. So remember, we only got how many masters? We just read it. We only got one master. Just one. For either he will hate the one and love the other. He said, man, you hate Yahushua and you love your wealth. It's your idol. You hate Yahuwah. Your carved image and your peace and your imaginations. Or he would be devoted to the one and despise the other. Man, he put a high wall up. Who said, I'm gonna break? He said, dig through the wall. You when he told you Qahalath? He said, dig through the wall, dig through that thing. Can you imagine in the other scene world? You got your high wall up, and then Ezekiel coming in. He digging through the wall like a mole. Right, just scratching that thing, right? Right. He got a boring machine. Just bore right through your wall, right? Right, he done bore through your wall. And he will, guess what it said? Or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Yahuwah Elohim and money. You can't do it. You only got one master, one Elohim, and one Yahuwah, right? There's only one, right? Verse 17, the one who states his case seems first. That seems right. That's what we say. We always say that. They look like they right. Every time somebody says something, right, and they putting their case out, he's like, man, look at here. They always seem right when people want to be the first person to start talking. But until another comes and examines him, that word for examines is kakar. It's kakar. It means to search. To search for, to examine thoroughly. Right? To be searched out, to be found out, to examine intimately. Right? See, like I told you, when you start getting really into this, right, the first nature of yourself, if you start operating the earthly nature, like your human body, who you are, your flesh, you're going to seem right to you. When somebody starts speaking with their flesh, they've been hurt or if something happened, they're going to speak through their flesh because of who they are, their nature. And you can't be the first, you got to hear before you give an answer now. You can't just be, yeah, I heard what he said. This is exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Because you got hatred in your heart for that person because you are in the past. Or you had a dispute with that person in the past. And then now you want to kill him. You want to murder. And you think you're going to run to a city of refuge. Like Deuteronomy. Now, you had a dispute with that person in the past. But then you heard something about what he did. You're like, yeah, that's the truth. But in actuality, no, it ain't. Right? Penetrate. To penetrate. You got to penetrate. People say, yeah, man. You got to get in the innermost part. You got to penetrate that thing. That's why he told Ezekiel to dig through the wall. You got to penetrate that high wall, right? Not only that, you got to penetrate yourself. You got to examine it intimately. You got to fall in love. He's talking about fall in love. Yeah. You have to literally fall in love with yourself and examine yourself. You literally do. You really do. How is you going to get to know you? How are you going to get to know yourself? Right? So this is the book of Proverbs. Proverbs 16 and 25. Proverbs 16 and 25. There is a way that seems right to a man or woman. There is a way. It seems right, especially when you say it first. Like, when you walk in the corner of your flesh, ooh, that thing seems right. It do. There is a way that seems right to a man or woman, but the end thereof is a way of death. And after you done examined it, you be like, man, that's the way of death. That's sin. That's sin. If you really, you know, I say, no, I know that I know. I said, if you really know, then you know that that's sin. How do you know it's sin? Right, so this is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 27. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 27. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 27. It says, whoever therefore eats the bread and drink this cup of Yahuwah unworthily manner will be guilty concerning the body and the blood of Yahuwah. Let a person examine himself. He said, man, you got to examine intimately. Because it seems right what you're doing. Then eat the bread and drink the cup. For anyone who eats and drinks without discerning the body eats and drinks judgment on himself. You should expect it. This is why many of you are weak and ill, and some have died. That's why he told you you got to endure sickness. Because if you have those things on the inside of you, you're going to have to endure sickness. We just read a fool's mouth taken to a fight. He said, you know what? You got to endure what you got to go through. And some have died. I told you you're going to attack your health. People saying, man, people have no idea. That's the whole point of this. That's the attack. He said, how you will come get you? He said that. But if we judge ourselves truly, we examine with intimate examination, or even other people who bring foolishness to you, and they trying to make it seem like they're in the right when they actually wrong because the other person ain't there to tell their story, and you just ran with it. You like a 4x100 stick, and you ran 100 yards. You gave it to somebody else, and they ran. The other person ran. Then needed another 4x200. You done ran around the thing like 8 times. And now guess what? The person ain't gonna be able to catch you. Ain't nowhere in the world. It's over with. Sprint. You done sprinted with it. Now it's over. It's over with. The race over. and you disqualified. You know how people get it and they get to the end, you disqualified. You stepped out of your lane. Sorry. Who gonna win now? Everybody stepped out of their lane. How many lanes is it? 9. Okay. All 8 lanes, everybody got their lane. Who's in last place? I know you was in last, but guess what now? Everybody disqualified. You know what happened? You first now. Huh? I'm first place? I ain't even finished. I got last place. I got lapped like 8 times. And guess what? You first. You the first person though. Because of what they did. That's how it worked. And guess what? Verse 30, that is why some are weak and ill. But if we judge ourselves truly, then we are judged. But when we are judged by Yahuwah, we are disciplined so that we may not be condemned along with the world. That's the whole reason he's doing it. That's why I say you get beaten for your stuff. You need to take it patiently. Now, if you didn't do nothing, you need to take it patiently. Right? You just got to endure it. So then, my brothers, when you come together to eat, wait for one another, right? So that's the whole point, right? Going back. So that word for examine is kakar. It means to search, ascertain, to investigate it, to search, to ponder, to probe, right? To find out, to seek, right? That's the whole point. This Marshall Proverbs 18:21 says a lot puts an end to the quarrels, right? What do you mean lot? The lot, man, that thing will put an end to all these quarrels. Because, you know, all these things that people, all gentleness, all humility, right? Courtesy to all people, avoid quarreling. He said, but that lot will put an end to the quarrel. Now, why do you think they cast lots for Yahushua? They cast lots for his garments. And decide between powerful contenders. Who was the powerful contender while they were casting lots for his garments? It wasn't them. Verse 19, a brother offended is more unyielding than a strong city. Uh-oh. You know, you say, what do you mean? How would a brother be offended? And quarreling is like the bars of a castle because you quarreling and fighting with him, and he trying to avoid quarreling and fighting, and you keep trying to stir up quarreling and fighting. So he offended, not because he's sinning, it's because of you and your sin and your mouth and your foolish mouth. You bring them to a quarrel and a fight. That's why he offended, because he don't understand you're supposed to be following the Ruach. And you up here trying to quarrel and fight with me, and guess what? I'm trying to avoid a quarrel and a fight. I'm trying to avoid getting a beat down. You trying to invite a beating, because that's all you want. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to be courteous to all people, gentle, all gentleness and all humility. That's why he offended. He's like, man, why are you offended? Because of that. Because quarreling is like the bars of a castle. You're trying to trap me in with your foolishness. Right? You know how you trap somebody in? You're going to trap me like a caged bird in your foolishness. And that's the whole point. That's your foolishness. Right? Verse 20. From the fruit of a man's mouth, his stomach is satisfied. And that's what you're going to eat, the fruit of your own way. Because your tongue. Whether it's good fruit or evil fruit, you're going to eat it. And you're going to be satisfied with it because you want to be satisfied. You got an appetite for quarreling. And now you want to keep people up. He is satisfied by the yield of his lips. He say, man, that's all you're thinking about. Quarreling, fighting. Because if somebody built their whole life on that, and they're this person, then guess what? That's all they're going to want to do. That's all they're going to be satisfied with. They're not going to be satisfied until I have to fight. I have to quarrel. I have to get into a brawl. And you'll find people who drink a lot, they love to get in them brawls, right? Hit you over the head at the bottom, right? They had that mindset. That's the residue behavior of the old life. But you put this stuff away. You can't bring that. Verse 21, death and life is in the power of the tongue. This is why the person offended, because you up here running your mouth, quarreling and fighting, he's trying to be courteous to all people. Trying to be all humility, submit to all humility and all gentleness, and submit to one master. That's all the person is trying to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. Right? Definitely keep you out. But it said the lot puts an end to all quarrel. What do you mean lot? That word for lot is kural. It's cruel. It means to be rough. Recompense, retribution. That's what going to put it in all that quarreling. When Yahuwah start punishing you, he start taking your stuff. He start punishing you in your body and your sicknesses. He start taking over your health. And he start beating you down, and he humble you down. That's when you're gonna start the quarreling in. I promise you. If you ever been in these situations, you're gonna find out. You be like, man, look at here. Let me stop doing this. Right? You're gonna stop all that quarreling. It means casting lots. It also means pebbles used systematically for making decisions. What do you mean pebbles? What did Dawid do to Goliath? Goliath was talking his stuff. Would you come out here to play fetch with a dog? Right? He said, man, you defied the armies of Yasharal. He took that one stone and hit him in the forehead. Guess what? That thing solved all the problems. That recompense, it solved all the problems. That thing was over in a second. It wasn't even long. He said, there you go. Boom, right in your forehead. Amazing hit you right in your forehead, because you need to have a frontness between your eyes. Amazing he threw a stone in his forehead. You know a stone mean a bend, right? You know what a bend mean? You know a stone mean a bend in Hebrew, a bri. And guess what? It's the Ab and the Son. It's the Ab and the Ben. It's the Father and the Son. He took that stone and hit him right in the forehead with the Father and the Son. He said, Hear, O Yasharal, Yahuwah, Elohim is one. He said, write him in the frontlets between your eyes. Put him at a sign in your hand too. Make sure you keep it in your frontal lobe, in your frontlets between your eyes. Goliath. That's all he did. Threw it right in his head. The Father and the Son. That's what he did. It means to be rough, right? That's what's going to happen. As a stone, a pebble. He said that's what's going to solve it. That's what happens. That's what's going to solve the whole thing. It's going to stop all the quarreling. It will. People say, yeah, it will. Right, this is 2 Chronicles chapter 15 and verse 1. Dabri Hayamim 15 and 1. The Ruach of Yahuwah came upon Azariah, the son of Obed, and he went out to meet Aysr, and said to him, hear me, Aysr. So the Ruach came upon him. You got one Ruach, right? And all Yehuda and Benjamin. Yahuwah is with you while you are with him. And if you seek him, he will be found by you. But if you forsake him, he will forsake you. Why? He will. Verse 3, for a long time Yasharal was without a true Elohim and without a teaching Kahan and without Torah. So you know what happens when you are out Torah. Ain't no loving thy neighbor as I love thyself anymore. Ain't no thou shalt not murder anymore. Ain't no thou shalt not bear false witness anymore. Ain't no thou shalt not covet anymore. Right? Ain't none of that. Ain't no honor thy mother and the father anymore. Ain't no have no Elohim before me. Ain't no remember the Shabbat no more. When you out without Torah, that's what happens. Ain't no salvation either, because Yahushua came to fulfill the Torah. Because if you without Torah, you don't know nothing about Yahushua Mashiach. How you know? Let me guess, you just came up with it in your mind? Verse 4, verse 4 says, but when in their distress they turned to Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yasharal, and sought him, he was found by them. That's the only reason he take you through all those things you got to endure. Your sicknesses, you done took it unworthily. You get beat for all your folly and your sin. You like to quarrel and fight, so I'm going to solve it with a lot. I'm going to solve it with a stone and a pebble. And that's what happens. In those times, there was no peace to him who went out or with him who came in. Man, there wasn't no shalom. There wasn't no shalom to Yasharal within you. Because they ain't had no Torah. If you ain't had no Torah, how you going to look what Dawid said? There wasn't no shalom. You know what? He said ain't no peace. You know what it says? It says, in those times there was no shalom to him who went out and those who came in, for great disturbances afflicted all the inhabitants of the land. They were broken in pieces. When you get all those pieces, you get broken. Just like Dawid said in Psalm 51. He said, a broken and contrite heart. He said, man, that's what Yahuwah wants. You will not despise. Verse 9, it says, nations was crushed by nation and city by city, and Elohim troubled them in every sort of distress. Right? So he said, what is that? This is Matthew chapter 24. Matthew chapter 24 Matthew chapter 24 and verse 5. Matthew 24 and 5. For many will come in my name, say, I am Mashiach, and they will lead many astray. He's saying, you know how they don't know it ain't Mashiach? He's going to say Mashiach. You know what Mashiach told us? All gentleness, all humility, courtesy to all people, who did no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. He heard before he gave an answer. They're going to say, I'm Mashiach and shall deceive many. You know what they're going to be saying? They're going to be doing the opposite of what Yahushua said and what he did. You know what he said? And they will lead many astray. He's going to lead a whole bunch of people astray. And you will hear wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed. For these things must take place. But the end is not yet. Because there ain't no shalom. For nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's people against people and Malkuth against kingdom. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. You know why? Man, for 4 things, the earth trembles. Man, it must be some women that, unloved women, got husbands now. It must be a slave and became a king. Man, there's a lot of stuff going on in the earth. Man, a lot of things taking place. And there will be famines and earthquakes in various places, and all these are the beginning of birth pains. Man, there must be a lot of things taking place. Right? Going back to 2 Chronicles 15 and 6. He says, they were broken into pieces. Nation was crushed by nation and city by city. For Elohim troubled them with every sort of distress. So who doing it? You who are doing it. But you take courage. Do not let your hands be weak, for your work shall be rewarded. You got to endure it. Verse 8 says, and as soon as Ayshr heard these words, you know how people say, I done heard it, but took courage, right? He said, man, this thing getting real, right? As soon as Ayshr heard these words of the Nabi, Azariah, the son of Obed, he took courage and put away the detestable idols. There we go. He put the idols away. Matter of fact, you put away your pictures and your card images. He said your riches, your high wall too. And it's your imagination. As a matter of fact, it's your idol. From all the land, he said, from all the land of Yehuda and Benjamin, and from the cities that he had taken in the hill country of Apharim, and he repaired the altar of Yahuwah, that was in front of the vestibule of the house of Yahuwah. And he gathered all Yehuda and Benjamin and those of Apharim, Manasseh, and Simeon, who were residing with him. Man, he got everybody together. Man, he got, but you hear Yasharah, Yahuwah, your Elohim is one, a Kad, right? Full go. For great numbers had deserted him from Yasharah when they saw that Yahuwah, his Elohim, was with him. What? For great numbers had deserted to him from Yasharah when they saw that Yahuwah Elohim was with him. But he's like, man, look at here. But they came straight to him, boy. As soon as he started saying, he heard the words of the Nabi, he started putting away the idols, and everybody started listening to him, right? He had people all around, boy. He had his numbers was going up, right? You know how it is. Your numbers going up, you're feeling great. He's like, man, but the other person, little Ulam, he ain't got nothing, right? But the other person got all, he gaining all this stuff, right? And they gathered at Jerusalem on the 3rd month of the 5th year in the reign of Asa, in the 3rd month, man. That's like round Kag Shabuh, right? They all gathered in one place, right? And suddenly there came a sound from Shamayim, right? And a voice of a mighty rushing wind, right? Clothed in tongues of fire, right? Ain't that something? They heard the words, right? But guess what? Verse 11 says, and they sacrificed to Yahuwah on that day from the spoil, and they had brought 700 oxen and 7,000 sheep, but they were killing all the animals. And they entered into covenant to seek Yahuwah Elohim and their fathers with all their heart and with all their soul. But that's what you're supposed to do for the Father. Yahuwah seeketh such to worship him. But that whoever would not seek Yahuwah, the Elohim Yasharah, should be put to death, right? Whether young or old or woman, they ain't care. But they like everybody. But you ain't keeping this mu'ah, these feasts, boy, you gonna die, right? You heard the words, man. He was like, man, you see what Yahushua said? We just read what Yahushua said. It's the same thing Obed said, right? It's the same thing. They put away the idols. My little children, keep yourselves from the idols, right? Verse 14, and they swore an oath to Yahuwah with a loud voice and with shouting and trumpets and horns. That's what we do. right? You get to that level and you start to get excited, right? And Yahuwah and all Yehuda rejoiced with an oath, for they had sworn with all their heart and had sought him with their whole desire, and he was found by them, and Yahuwah gave them rest all around. And that's what happens. He will give you a little, you endure it, and guess what? Yahuwah will bring everything back to shalom. When you seek him with your whole heart, that's how you know when you seek Yahuwah your whole heart, and Yahuwah will bring your John right to rest. He bring that into peace. He bring you back to Shabbat. Remember, they were without the teaching priests and the Qahalath. They were without the Torah too. And guess what? They returned back to Shabbat. To keep it the proper way. I'm not saying they wasn't. To keep it the proper way. Right? Even Makah, his mother, King Ayshr, removed from being queen mother because she had made a detestable image of Ayshr, but she had no respect of person. You know how you just say, he that loveth mother, father, sister, brother, son, and daughter more than me, you not worthy of me. He like, man, look at here. You ain't burning no idols up in here. He said, man, you get demoted. You no longer queen mother. He said, you ain't the queen mother no more, right? You know why he did that? Because he got to put away the goddesses, the female goddesses, and the things they were worshiping. The queen of Shamayim. Because she was worshiping the queen of Shamayim. So he's like, you gotta get that queen. You no longer the queen mother. Get Malka mother. Malka That's basically what it is. Malka You say you no longer Malka You get your behind demoted. You ain't nothing. You just a You just a how you say? You just a mother. Ayshr cut down her image and crushed and burned it in the brook Kidron, but he pulled that thing down. He didn't care. I don't care what you say, mother. Right? He didn't care. But the high places were not taken out of Yasharal. There we go. You know, we talked about that high wall. He said that's your image, your likeness, and your pictures, right? When we talked about that high wall, he's like, he didn't take around the high places though. And guess what? Nevertheless, the heart of Ayshr was wholly true in his days. So that means you did all the things, but he still had some sin, though. He still has some sin. So please don't be. If you search yourself thoroughly and you examine yourself thoroughly, you're going to find that you still got sin. And that little bit of sin can cause a lot of damage. That little sin, a little leaven, a little folly can outweigh a lot of honor. And I'm going to show you. And he brought into the house of Elohim a sacred gift to his father and his own sacred gifts, silver and gold and vessels. There we go. But he didn't take down them high places, though. He didn't take down the high places. And sacred gifts of his father and his own sacred gifts of silver, gold, and vessels. And there was no more war until the 35th year of reign of King Ayshr. Man, he had so much peace. He had so much peace. There was no more war. You know what he said? Right, this is the book of, man, this thing. Right, this is the book of Yeshayahu. Sorry, yeah. This is the book, I think it's Yeshayahu. Yeah, the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 2. Yeshayahu, chapter 2, and verse 3. Yeshayahu, chapter 2, verse 3. And many people shall come and say, come, let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah, to the house of Elohim Yaakov, that he may teach of his ways. Right? Remember, they were all the teaching priests. And Ayshr heard it, and he started getting everybody together, right? Everybody came up, and that he may teach us his ways, that we may walk in his paths, right? And out of Sion shall go forth the Torah, the law, and the word of Yahuwah from Jerusalem. And he shall judge between nations and decide disputes of many people. That's why he says, Yahushua said, there are going to be wars and rumors of wars. Nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. We all have been getting birth pains. But when the word of Yahuwah get back to Jerusalem, he's going to solve all these disputes. And they shall decide disputes of many peoples, and they shall bear their swords and beat their swords into plowshares. Why? Because they say when he that speaketh right, they always seem that they're right when they speak first. But until somebody come and examine them. And guess what? And their spears and their pruning hooks, and nation will not lift up sword against nation, neither should they learn war anymore. He's like, man, there was no war for 35 years in Yasharal, until the 35th year in the reign of Aysr. Right? But that's all part of it. Right, so this, going to chapter 16. 2 Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 1. It says, in the 36th year of the reign of Aysr, Baasha, king of Yasharal, went up against Yehuda and rebuilt Ramah, that he might permit no one to go out or come in to Aysr, king of Yehuda, right? These are all alphas, how you say, malaks, right? These are all kings, leaders, rulers, right? Everybody fighting, everybody trying to put territory down, right? He said, ain't no more one ruach. He said, one Elohim, one ruach. Then Aysr took silver and gold from the treasuries of the house of Yahuwah and the king's house, and sent them to Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, who lived in Damascus, saying, there is a covenant between me and you. Right? Remember what he had. He said he ain't take down the high places, right? And amazingly, he had a lot of money still, and he still had that high tower, that high wall, right? And guess what? It was his idol. Then there is a covenant between me and you, and there was war, as there was war between my father and your father. Behold, I am sending you silver and gold. Boy, he like, man, I'm sending you some silver and gold. Imagine you doing that today. Well, you're going to be broke. Yes, you got a lot of it. Go, break your covenant with Baasha, king of Yasharal. He used his money. He said, break your covenant with the king of Yasharal. Because you know what? Because Baasha, king of Yasharal, went up against Yehuda and built Ramah. Because he built something. You know, when you start building something, well, you trying to build your own stuff. You trying to build something, huh? That he might permit no one to go out, or come in to King Aysr, king of Yehuda. Why? Because this is all a part of his. Remember, Aysr had repented and he got everybody together, and he was the person everybody would come to. And then Baasha, king of Yasharal, was like, man, look at here. He said, I'm gonna build me something, and guess what? It's gonna stop all the people from flowing to you. My place. It's gonna stop people from flowing to you. So Aysr got mad, like, hold up, everybody come to me. I don't want to repent. I don't want to get rid of my mother's idols. I'm the one who did all these things. I'm the one who listened to Obed. I'm the one who listened to the Nabi. I'm the person who repented and got this thing right. Me. I did it. Then now you want to build your stuff right in the way of mine. Now you gonna try to take all the people from me. I'm telling you, man, this stuff happened for real in real life. But guess what? Going back to verse Dari Hayami 16:3. There is a covenant between me and you, and there was between my father and your father. Behold, I am sending you silver and gold. Go break your covenant with Baasha, king of Yasharal, that he may withdraw from me. Because you know why he break that covenant with him? I want you to go and take him out. I want you to go take him out. Because you break your covenant with him, then he's going to have to leave now. And Ben-Hadad listened to the king of Aysr and sent the commanders of his armies against the cities of Yasharal. That's what he said, go take him out. Bribe money. Go take him out. They all plotting. It's a plot. Amazingly, I told you that little bit of sin. Remember he said he ain't taking on the high places? That little bit of sin. That little bit of sin to take you, that thing will mess you up. A little leaven. And guess what? And they conquered Ejon, Dan, Abelamim, and all the store cities of Naphtali. And when Baasha heard of it, he stopped building Ramna and let his work cease. But when you start losing stuff, he's like, man, everything gone now. Because he done broke the covenant, he done told on you. He like, yeah, you know, he got this and this and that. Now they're trying to get you to stop your work. Now you don't need to do all that. Just stay where you, man. And he stopped his work because of all the stuff that somebody else did. And wasn't no Akkad. There's one Ruach, one body, one hope in your calling, one Ruach, one immersion, right? But there ain't no more. And guess what? And he stopped working. Then King Ayshr took all Yehuda and carried away the stones of Ramah and its timber with Baasha had been building. And with him, he built Geba and Mishpah. He took his materials, his building materials. He took the man building material. Can you imagine? Somebody stop your construction project, your project, what you getting ready to do, and they stop yours and take your building materials and run over here and build something for himself while taking your stuff, taking your building material, your words, your debar, everything you got, and then you're going to build their stuff with your stuff and get you to tell you to stop, try to get you to stop doing yours, just so that they can look a certain way. And he's like, man, I'm finna take that, I'm finna build all around where he was supposed to be at. And that's what he did. I told you that little leaven get you, boy. That little leaven get you now. And at that time, going to verse 7, Hananiah, the seer, came to Ayshr, king of Yehuda, and said to him, you understand, Yehuda will be watching you now. Just like the king of Yehuda and Yasharah went to the fight. He like, man, put on my garments, let me go out there. They're going to start attacking you. Not even knowing Yehuda like, nah, you ain't getting away with nothing. And Ayshr, king of Yehuda, said to him, because you relied on the king of Syria. And did not rely on Yahuwah, your Elohim, the army of the king of Syria has escaped you. That's what happens when you leave Yahuwah. You were not the Ethiopians and the Libyans, a huge army with very many chariots and horsemen, right? Yet because you relied on Yahuwah, he gave them into your hand. For the eyes of Yahuwah run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to give strong support to those whose heart is blameless toward him. So when you do this, you ain't blameless toward Yahuwah. Why do you think Shaul said, I think it was Acts 20:24, he said, I herein I exercise myself to have a conscience void of offense toward Yahuwah, Elohim, and man. You just say, why he did that? Because he said, man, I'll be doing that. He said, as it is today, I have a good conscience toward Yahuwah right now. You got to make sure. It's not a game. People be thinking, well, you got to make sure. You have done foolishly in this. A fool's lips lead themselves into a fight. You invite a beating. You sure have invited this beating you getting ready to get. For from now on, you will have wars. Here you go. Then Ayshr was angry after you heard that. Once you hear you're gonna have war, what you said to me? I done took somebody else building materials. I done set the price. I done built my stuff. Now you talking about I don't have war because I did that? Because I did all of that. And yeah, you relied on King of Syria, not Yahuwah, to resolve that situation that you had. So therefore, being that you did that, you're gonna have wars. Wars and rumors of wars. That's all you're gonna be hearing. You're gonna be panicking. Then Ayshr was angry with the seer and put him in the stocks in the prisons, right? He got mad at the Nabi, right? Threw him in prison, right? That's why you say, man, you sure you want to go? You're gonna throw you over in prison, right? For he was enraged with him because of this, man. He was enraged, right? You know what happens when you get enraged? It leaves an opening for a demon to come in your heart, for a shadim. Right, this book of Testament of God, Testament of Gad, it leaves an opening. Testament of God, Testament of God. What they say? Testament of God, Testament of God, chapter 1. verse 23. Verse 22. For hatred worketh with envy, and also, Testament of God 1:22. For hatred worketh with envy also against them that prosper. So long as he heareth or seeth their success, it is always languish, right? For as love will quicken even the dead, and will not call back them that are condemned to die, so hatred will slay the living, and those that have sinned vehemently, it will not suffer them to live. For the ruach of hatred works together with Satan. He said, being that you relied on the king of Assyria, and not on Yahuwah. Being that you relied on the king of Assyria and not Yahuwah, you work together with Satan. For the ruach of hatred work together with Satan through hastiness of spirits. You were real quick to do that, dude. You were real quick. You forgot about me, Yahuwah, right? You ain't even inquire about me. In all things to men's death. Oh, man. People say, what? To men's death. This is why you gotta pay real attention to yourself, male and female and child. You gotta be real slow. Slow to speak. You gotta hear, then you speak. Then you examine thoroughly. In all things to men's death, but the ruach of love works together with the law of Yahuwah. That's why Yahuwah said, you ain't working with me. What happened to your love? In long suffering unto salvation of men. What happened to your aha? You quick to get that silver and that gold, though, to try to set somebody up. You bribing people. Hatred, therefore, is evil, and it constantly mated with lying, speaking against the truth, and it maketh small things to be great. Yeah, he built something, yeah. I'm finna do some more stuff. And it maketh small things great, and causes the light to be darkness. If that light be darkness, how great is that darkness? You ain't take down that high wall, did you? It was your idol, it was your carved image, your picture with your incense. That's what you were using the whole time. How do you think he got all that stuff that happened? Let me guess. He used his wits and his words. Man, that man pulled out that money. That's how he got all that stuff to happen. You're not making nothing happen without no silver, no gold, buddy. You get a whole mountain. Matter of fact, man, everything seems. Any place you go, you give the right amount of silver and gold. Citizenship, money, friend, dinner. Right? You're gonna be eating dinner with everybody, right? You got enough money, you can do a whole bunch of stuff. I assure you. And you don't want to mess with somebody who got that type of ability, right? Especially when you build right close. He's just like Isabel when Ahab wanted the land. He had to set the person up to get the land, get him killed. But it said, we're going to hate you, hasten the spirits of all men's death now. But guess what? Skipping down. And they call it sweet bitter and teaches slander. And kindleth wrath. That's what he was. And when he get angry, he put him in rage and then he threw him in prison. Ooh, well, he said, I told you, that thing, when that demon, that Shadim, that Satan get on you, but it's over. It's over, man. You might as well just don't even worry about it. You already know. Yahuwah coming for you, right? Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. If you know, man, it's serious, man. It says, then great, and causes the light to be darkness, and causes sweet bitter, and teaches slander, and kindleth wrath, and stirreth up war. You're going to have wars. You know what he said? He said, you're going to have wars. You have done foolishly in this. From now on, you will have wars. And violence and all covetousness. Isn't that what he did to the King Bashar? He was covetous. He wanted his stuff so bad, he even took his building materials after he was done. It filleth the heart with evils and devilish poisons. He said, these things, therefore, I say to you from experience, my children. So, you know, people say, I'm afraid to confess my sin. He said, from experience. My children, that you may drive forth hatred, which is of Satan, the devil, and cleave to the love of Elohim. That's why he said, you done forsook me for the king of Assyria. Righteousness casts out hatred, and humility destroys all envy. Submit yourself to all humility and all gentleness, and you will never have these issues. But if you don't, you're going to have wars. Going to Deuteronomy 16 and 10. Second Chronicles 16 and 10. First Chronicles 16 and 10. Then Ayshr was angry with the seer and put him in the stocks in the prisons. And he was enraged with him because of this. And Ayshr inflicted cruelties upon some of the people at the same time. So then now you start going and rage at everybody. Anybody that come at you. Anybody that say something. But you just going at everybody. You swinging, you going at everybody. Swinging, you going at every single person around. You starting to inflict other people around you at the same time. Because you're rage. Because you did some evil stuff. Covetous stuff. And you set that person up, and you pay other people to set him up, and then you took his building materials, and then you want to come out here and act like you innocent, and then you start getting raged because somebody told you wrong, and you throw them in prison. Then you start afflicting other people with cruelties. Start saying stuff out your mouth, cursing them out, slandering and gossiping and running your mouth, and guess what? Now you got all these wars, and you know what people gonna do? They want to play victim after this. You can't play victim after that. You can't. Verse 11. The acts of Ayshr from the first to the last are written in the book of the kings of Yehuda and of Yasharal. In the 39th year of the reign of Ayshr was diseased in his feet. Right? So you say, what? He was diseased in his feet, and disease became severe. So these are all the things that we got to pay attention to when Yahuwah be afflicting us. The thing you be like, so why he doing this to me? Because you got some sin inside of you. It has nothing to do with anything else. Ayshr was diseased in his feet, and disease became severe. So, yet in his disease, he did not seek Yahuwah. That's the whole point. Why do you think he attacking your health? You say, why he attacking your health? Because, right? Why do you think he's doing that? Yeah, even in disease, he did not seek Yahuwah, but sought to help the physicians. He still ain't seek Yahuwah. You know how he seek to help the physicians? He sought the help of the king of Syria, but he never sought Yahuwah in none of it. 35th year, all these things happen. 39th year, right? And all these things happen, guess what? Years done gone by, still haven't sought Yahuwah at all with his whole heart. Even with all his afflictions. You got to endure it, though. You know what he enduring for how many years? 3 years. He enduring for 3 years. But guess what? In those 3 years, he ain't seeking Yahuwah, though. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. He ain't repent for the cruelty he did to other people. He ain't repent for throwing the Nabi in the prison. He ain't repent for giving the king of Syria money. He ain't repent for stealing building materials. Man, you think about all these sins you got, and you be like, man, why am I getting afflicting in my health? You gotta repent. And Ayshr slept with his fathers, dying in the 41st year of his reign. Because working together with Satan, it hastens the spirits work to men's death. And they buried him in the tomb that he had cut for himself in the city of Dawid. He did that. He said, I cut me a little spot right next to Dawid, right there. One of the best kings in Yahweh. I put my thing right next to him, right? I mean, he had a will. Think about it. You had things already written down where you want to be buried at. He had a will, a trust. He's like, man, look, I was the greatest thing in Yahshua. Matter of fact, I got all the people to come together after he spoke to me, and I repented. He made sure he had this written out where he wanted to be buried in that and everything. And my name gonna be remembered. You hear me? And they laid him in the bier that he had filled with the various kinds of spices, right? He did that. He already had that thing ready, right? Prepared by the perfumer's art. Little folly. He said perfume is great. Dead flies make perfume give off a stench. And a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. He had it all set up for his wisdom, his honor right there. And they didn't get it. He thought he was doing something. And nothing happened. And they made a very great fire in his honor, not even knowing. Nobody made a great fire in his honor. First of all, they didn't know his sin. They didn't know what he did. And they didn't know his anger and his rage and how he mistreated other people. But they still held him in honor, though, not even knowing that dead flies give off a stench. And a little folly outweighs wisdom and honor. But they gave it to him. They gave it to him. Right? But they gave it to him, though. But that's the whole point. I said, so why is this important? Because everything you do, I'm almost finished. Everything you do, everything happens for a reason, right? And I was going to go somewhere else. But we go to 2 Maccabees, chapter 9, 1 through 29. This is 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees, chapter 9, verse 1. And about that time came Atticus with dishonor out of the country of Persia. For he had entered a city called Perethos and went about to rob the temple and to hold the city, whereupon the multitude running to defend themselves, and there with their weapons put them to flight. And so it happened that Antiochus, being put to flight of the inhabitants, returned with shame. Right? He came back with shame. Now when he came to Ecbatane, news was brought him what had happened unto Nichor and Timotheus. Then, swelling with anger, he thought to avenge upon the Yahudim the disgrace done unto him by those that made him flee. He's like, man, look at here, we finna do something to you. Yahudim, right? Therefore commanded he and his chariot men to drive without ceasing and to dispatch the judgment of Elohim, the judgment of Elohim now following him. You see, when you start to think, he'd be thinking like, yeah, I'm finna go do something to you because you made me flee. But not even knowing, Yahuwah say, I've been following you the whole time. You know how you be like, you be thinking you going somewhere and Yahuwah be following you everywhere you go. You be like, man, ain't nobody follow me wherever I go. Man, Yahuwah be following you everywhere you go. Especially when you're his child, he be like, where you going? I know where you at. For he had spoken proudly in this sort. Uh-oh. How many times he said, how many times you spoke proudly in this sort? When Yahushua reviled, he reviled not back. He didn't persecute, he threatened none. They made you flee, you need to just take your loss. That he would come to Jerusalem and make it a common burying place for the Yahudim, right? He said, I'm gonna make that place a burying place. But Yahuwah Almighty, the Elohim Yasharal, smote him with an incurable and invisible plague. Oh boy, here we go. Ayshr, here you meet Ayshr, here the other person too. So you be speaking proudly, you be saying what you gonna do. What you gonna do again? I'm telling you, who will attack your health. People think this is a game. It's not a game. And as soon as he had spoken these words, a pain of the bowels was a bowel of remedies came upon him, and sore torments of the inner parts. And then we just read that, talked about the sweet words going to the innermost parts of the belly. We just read that. That's one of the first things we talk about. It goes straight into your inward parts. When you do things like this, there's stuff going in your inward parts. People say, who's going to attack your health? And the most justly, for he had tormented other men's bowels with many of strange and torments, right? For he had tormented other men's bowels with many and strange torments. Why? Because your tongue. A fool's mouth bring you into a fight. And he said, you are inviting a beating from Yahuwah himself. You are. Howbeit, he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride. He kept bragging. What he gonna do? Breathing out fire in his rage against the Yahudim. You know what Ayshr did to Nabi? He got enraged and he threw him in prison. Isn't that what the same thing he did? So what's the difference between Ayshr and this man? Absolutely nothing. And commanding to haste the journey. Hastiness of spirits, right? All to men's death. And we read in the Ruach of hatred. But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, carried violently, so that having a sore fall, all the members of his body was very much pain. That's how you know. You done hit you in your bowels. He done hit you with something else, and then now you fell out your horse. Right? Now you real hurting. He's like, man, I got stomach pains, and he done threw me off the horse. Right? And you know what's gonna happen after that? You think he gonna stop? You think he gonna stop? No. And thus he had a little afore thought he might command the waves of the sea. So proud was he beyond the condition of man, and weighed the high mountains in a balance, was now cast on the ground, and he carried in an horse litter, showing forth all the manifest power of Elohim, right? So that the worms rose out of the body of this wicked man. He talking them parasites. That's what make the stomach good like that. People say, well, because Yahuwah put parasites in your stomach. And whilst he lived in sorrow and pain, he fell away. And the filthiness of his smell was noisome to his whole army. He would have gas, right? That's what happens. And we read, and people say, what do you mean the Essene? People have no idea. People say, what do you mean the Essene? People say, why do you think Yahushua? Man, people have no idea. All that stuff is, people say, man, people have no idea. I'm not even going into it. Yeah, that's a whole nother subject. And showing forth all the manifest power of Elohim, so that the worms rose out of his body, this wicked man. And while he lived in sorrow and pain, his flesh fell away, which means he lost. It was eating him alive on the inside. They call it tapeworms. Right? They start eating you alive, and you be eating all the food, and then you just keep withering away. And the filthiness of his smell was noisome in his army. He had cancer in his stomach, in his intestines, in the innermost parts of himself. And the man thought a little afore he could reach the stars of Shamayim, and no man could endure to carry forth his intolerable stink. He still kept boasting about how he going to ascend to the Shamayim. Like, man, I'm like the stars of the Shamayim, like Abraham said, right? That's what they believe. What you talking about? Isn't that what they believe? And then they come out from Abraham's bowels. Never mind. But yet you run in your mouth, and then he will say, you know what? Here, therefore, being plagued, he began to leave off his great pride. Now he started, he started getting, that thing started to go away. That pride, man, it comes just before a fall. Pride, that's why he says, submit yourself to all humility, all gentleness, and be courteous to all people. And to come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of Elohim, Yahuwah, whipping you behind. His pain increasing every moment. He's like, man, you coming to the knowledge. That's why Yahuwah be doing it to us. He said, why he do that? Because he wants you to come to the knowledge of what you're doing. You need to examine yourself thoroughly to see if those things be so, what you're saying that you're doing and what you're going to do. Verse 13, this wicked person vowed also unto Yahuwah, who was now no more would have mercy upon him, saying thus, that the Qahalath city, to that which he was going in haste to lay it even to the ground, and to make it a common burying place, he would set at liberty. Now he's like, man, I'm going to set it free now. And as touching the Yahudim, whom he had judged not worthy so much as to be buried, but to cast out with their children to be devoured of the fowls of the wild beasts, he would make them all equals to the citizens of Athens. Right? He took them all and made them captive. He told, I ain't gonna do it. I'm gonna make them all the citizens of Rome. Right? And the Qahalath's temple, which before he had spoiled, he would garnish with goodly gifts, and restore all the Qahalath's vessels with many more out of his own revenue, to defray the charges belonging to the sacrifices. Yea, that also he would become a Yahudi himself, and go through all the world that was inhabited, and declare the power of Elohim. But he gonna take over Jerusalem, take over the priesthood, take over everything that happened, and then you know what we're going to do? We finna go through all the world and proclaim the word of Yahuwah came from Jerusalem, but we got to get them other people out, the other Yahudi. And we're going to proclaim the power. Matter of fact, we're going to go through all the world, and then the end going to come. We're going to get rid of everybody. Even with all that pain and all that stuff in this thing, even though you know Yahuwah plaguing him. Yahuwah following him the whole time. So please don't be thinking Yahuwah don't be following the people. Yahuwah be following everybody. He say, so you did what? So please don't think he followed us on ships all across the world and through the currents and all the things we did. He followed, he was watching us the whole time. Yeah, he was watching. He watched y'all the whole time. And you know what he said? The world that was inhabited and declared the power of him, but for all this, his pains would not cease. Yahuwah like, I don't care what you say. Yahuwah know you're a liar. And if you do this in Yasharah, Yahuwah, he know you're a liar. You're a goyim, a stranger. You attach yourself, Yahuwah be knowing. He be saying, I know you. I know you people. I've created you. I know your frame. But for all this, his pains will not cease, for the just judgment of Elohim was come upon him. We just talked about, you eat this thing unworthily, you bring judgment on yourself. People say, what? And it's just, too, what he do. You got to endure it, too. That's what Koph said. You get beaten for it, take it patiently. But if you don't, take it patiently. But you still got to endure it. Was come upon him, therefore, despairing of his health, he wrote unto the Yahudim the letter underwritten, containing the form of a supplication after this manner. Antiochus, king and governor, to the good Yahudim, not a good. Before they realize, I'm finna tear them down. His citizens wishes much joy and health and prosperity, right? Remember what he told Laban? He said, be careful what you say, good or evil. As for me, I am weak, or else I would have remembered kindly your honor and goodwill returning out of Persia. And being taken with a grievous disease, I thought it was necessary to care for the common safety of all. Not disturbing my health, but having great hope to escape this sickness. He's trying to get up out of there. Man. But considering that even my father, at what time he led an army into the high countries, appointed a successor, to the end that if any fell out of contrary to expectation, or any tidings were brought that were grievous, they of the land, knowing to whom the state was left, might not be troubled. Again, considering how that the princes that are borderers and neighbors unto my kingdom wait for opportunity, and expect what shall be the event. I have appointed my son Antiochus king, whom I have often committed and commended unto many of you, when I went up into the high provinces, to whom I have written as follows. Therefore I pray and request you to remember the benefits that I have done unto you generally, and in special, and that every man will be still faithful to me and my son. Right? So he's making sure, because he already knows what's getting ready to happen. He's getting ready to die. That's why. He's just, man, please. For I am persuaded that he, understanding my mind, will favorably be gracious and yield your desires. Thus the murderer and the blasphemer have suffered more grievously, as he entreated other men. You know what Ayshr did? He inflicted cruelties upon some other people at the same time. Thus the murderer and the blasphemer have suffered more grievously, as he entreated other men. So died he a miserable death in a strange country in the mountains. See, this is the parts that people don't want to talk about. But this is the whole point of it. And Philip, that was brought up with him, carried away his body, who was fearing the son of Etirus, and went into Mizraim. So why is this important? This is the book of Judges, chapter 1. We almost finished there. Yeah, we almost done. Judges chapter 1. Judges chapter 1, verse 29. Judges chapter 1 and verse 29. I think this is it. Actually, no. It's Judges chapter 1. I think it's earlier. Yeah, Judges chapter 1 and verse 5. Judges chapter 1, verse 5. They found Adon-Bezek at Bezek and fought. Actually, go to verse 1. Judges chapter 1, verse 1. And after the death of Yahusha, the people of Yashrael inquired of Yahuwah, who shall go up first for us against the Canaanites to fight against them? And Yahuwah said, Yehuda shall go up. Behold, I have given it the land into his hand. Amazingly, that's what Aysr did not do. He did not inquire of Yahuwah. Guess what? And Yehuda said to Simeon, his brother, come up with me into the territory allotted to me, that we may fight against the Canaanites. And I likewise will go with you to your territory allotted with you. So Simeon went with him. Then Yehuda went up, and Yahuwah gave the Canaanites and the Perizzites into their hand. And they defeated 10,000 of Besek, and they found Adon-Bezek at Besek, and fought against him, and defeated the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And Adon-Bezek fled, and they pursued him and caught him. You know what Yahuwah was pursuing the king in the book of 2nd Maccabees? He said, man, who will follow me everywhere I went? And he said, man, they pursuing my behind you. Who coming for you now? And guess what? Besek fled, and they pursued him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and his big toes. Isn't that what they did in that movie the other day? Isn't that what they did? And Adon-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and their big toes cut off used to pick up scraps under my table. Uh-oh. So you want to mistreat people too, huh? You don't care. Male, female, king, ruler. Doesn't matter who you are. Yahuwah gonna get you. They used to pick scraps under my table. As I have done, so Yahuwah has repaid me. He repaid you. You got payments. That's your payment. And they brought him to Jerusalem and he died there. You got payments. Man, these are payments, right? And people say, yeah, these are payments. And these are a part of it. These are all a part of it. Right, so this is the book of Sirach. I think it's the book of Sirach. This is the book of Sirach. Book of Sirach, chapter 19 and 16. Book of Sirach, chapter 19. The book of Sirach, chapter 19. Yeah, book of Sirach, chapter 19 and verse 16. There is one that slippeth in his speech, but not from the heart. You think about all the people who done spoke, you done read it. And he spoke something, he said, man, I'm finna go lay Yahudim flat to the ground. But he did that jump from the heart. Right? You have some other people, he said, a fool walked into a fight. But he said, sometimes you gotta hear first, then react. But it says, there is one that slippeth with his speech, but not from his heart. Right? Because everything people say ain't really what people think. And who is he that have not offended with his tongue? Uh-oh. And he said, why we begin to flee? He said, who is he that has not offended with his tongue? Now he say offended. He said, why is that person offended? Because you're trying to get me to quarrel, fight. You're trying to get me in these situations. That's why. You offended me. Guess what he says? Verse 17, admonish thy neighbor. He say, warn them. Before thou threaten him. Now you see why he says you need to hear first before you speak. Because when Yahushua was reviled, he reviled him. He was persecuted, he threatened not. But he committed himself to him that judges righteously. He trusted in Yahuwah, not the king of Assyria. He didn't trust in his silver and gold. He didn't trust in his boastful word. He didn't speak with no pride either. That's why he did that. It says, and modify thy neighbor before you threaten him, and not being angry, give place to the Torah of the Most High. That's why Yahuwah say, you ain't really trusting me, Ayshr, huh? Because they was without the teaching Kahan and the Torah. He's like, give place to the Torah now. Give place to the Torah. Give place to the Torah of the Most High. Fear Yahuwah in the first step. Because, usually when somebody speaks first, it seems right. It seemed right. It seemed right when you first speak. The first person you hear that speak, it's like, man, that must be true. Here's the judgment right now, right? No. Fear Yahuwah in the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtaineth his love. The knowledge of the commandments of Yahuwah is the doctrine of life. Because you know what leads to death? Your tongue and your sin. And the ruach of hatred that work together with Satan. Hasty and you quit. And it leads to all men's death. And women and children. The knowledge of the commandment of Yahuwah is the doctrine of life. And they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. Right, this is Shemuel, 2 Samuel, Shemuel 23, 1 through 7. Now these are the last words of Dawid, the oracle of Dawid, the son of Yeshai, the oracle of the man who was raised on high, the anointed of Elohim, of Yaakov, the sweet psalmist of Yasharal. Son of Adam, be lifted up. I'm going to draw people to myself. The Ruach of Yahuwah speaks by me, because there's only one Ruach. His word is on my tongue, because there's only one word, Debar. The Elohim of Yasharal has spoken. The rock of Yasharal has said to me, because it's like a small pebble. He said it's like a lot. Matter of fact, it's like a little lot, a little pebble that go, right? He throw it in, he said, it's just like, he's going to solve everything. He's going to stop all the quarreling. It is. When one rules justly over men, women, and children, or a mother over children, or anybody over a household, or any may be, ruling in the fear of Elohim, that's the first step. He said, man, be careful with your first step. We used to always say that in sports, your first step. You got a false step. That's falsehood. Lying. Quarrel. Fight. Right? That's all. That's the wrong step. He said, give place to the Torah. Guess what? The Elohim Yasharal has spoken. The rock of Yasharal said to me, when one rules justly over men, women, and children, ruling in the fear of Elohim, he dawns on them like the morning light. He dawns. Like the sun, just Shema, shining forth on a cloudless morning. It's just like that. Like rain that makes grass to sprout from the earth. It's just like rain. It's just like any type of elementary thing that allows things to sprout up. It's just like the matar. It's just like the matar, that dasher, right? The rain that causes things to rise. That's what that is. It's just like that. It's just like that, to sprout in the earth. Verse 5 says, For does not my house stand so with Elohim? For he has made with me an everlasting covenant, ordered in all things and secure. For will he not cause to prosper all my help and my desire? But worthless men are like thorns that are thrown away. So now you see why all these things are important. Right? For they cannot be taken with their hand. He said, man, they just like thorns. They cut you. But the man who touches them arms himself with iron and shaft of a spear. And they are utterly consumed with fire. Why does he say this? Right, this is the book of Matthew. He said, why do you say this? People say, people have no idea. All right, go to Matthew chapter 8, Matthew chapter 8 and verse 10. Matthew chapter 8, verse 10. It says, when Yahushua heard this, he marveled and said, said to those who follow him, truly I tell you, with no one in Yasharal have found such a munah. I tell you, many will come from the east and the west and recline at the table of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of Shamayim, while the sons of the kingdom will be thrown in the outer darkness. Why? In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Why? Because the light of the body is the eye, the iron. And the eye be, or the whole body is illuminated. But if it be darkness, how great is that darkness? How great is your darkness when you know something and you don't do it? Guess what? And the centurion said to Yahushua, let it be done as you have believed, right? Right. This is the book of Matthew. Actually I have to go to Matthew chapter 3. Matthew chapter 3 verse 11. Matthew chapter 3 verse 11. Actually going to Matthew chapter 3 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 3 verse 9. And do not presume to say to yourselves, we have Abraham as father, right? You know how people say they got all the genealogies and things, right? We got Abraham our father. For I tell you, Elohim is able with these stones to raise up children of Abraham. Isn't that what we just read? He said, man, the lot going to solve all these quarrels and fighting. You need to read that. It is a pebble, a stone. It says, even now the axe is laid to the root of the trees. Every tree that does not bear good fruit, and we just read how make sure you devote yourself to good works, is cut down and thrown into the fire. Man, it's consumed with fire. It's just like a thorn. I immerse you with water for repentance, but he who is coming after me is mightier than I, whose sandals I am not worthy to carry. He will immerse you with the Kudash Ruach and fire. His winnowing fork is in his hand, and he will clear the threshing floor and gather his wheat into his barn, but the chaff he will burn with unquenchable fire. And he said, who are you talking about? Verse 13, then Yahushua came from Galilee to Yarden to Yehukanan to be immersed by him. And Yehukanan having prevented him, saying, I need to be immersed by you. Papa, all this, I need to be immersing you. And you do come to me? But Yahushua answered him, let it be so. Let it be so now. For thus it is fitting us to fulfill all righteousness. Then he consented, and Yahushua was immersed immediately, and went up from the water, and behold, the Shamayims were opened to him. And he saw the Ruach of Elohim descending as a unit, and coming to rest on him. And behold, a voice from Shamayim, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. Right? You think he said it about Ayshr? It's fulfill all righteousness, right? You think he said that about all the fools or that king that say we're gonna come against the Yahudim and all the things he did? No. He was just everything that people did, or the people who do all these things, and he said, why are you who afflicted me? Because he's trying to make you into his son, his daughter. That's the only reason he's doing it. If you endure chastisement, he deal with you as a son. But if you don't, right, at verse 4 it says, he dawns on him, going back to the side, he said, he dawns to him like one of the morning light, like the sun shining. That's what Yahushua was. I saw the Ruach come in like a unit, like a dove. And that thing, the whole sky opened up. It was like a cloudless morning, right? It's just like when you know how the sun come out. Man, that's how the Ruach coming from him. Like, it was like a cloudless morning. And it said, this is my beloved son, in whom I am well pleased. And the sun has shone all over his body. I saw the clouds open up. That thing came out, and then the sun came out and shined on him. He like, man, look at the sun that shined on this person. because Yahuwah was the sun will shine on him. It says, like the sun shining on a cloudless morning, like the rain, right? It said, means shining forward, means shining to rise, to come forth, to break out, to arise, to rise up, to shine, to come out, to appear, to irradiate. That's what he gonna do. He said, I need to be immersed by you. You need to immerse me with fire. To come forth, to rise. And immediately after he rose out of the water, I saw a eunuch come down. I saw a dove. Just like when Noah let the dove go out of his ark, he said it came out with an olive branch and then it left, and he said they ain't come back again. They rested on Yahushua Mashiach. He rested on him. Right, this is the book of Psalms 122. Psalms 122, 1 through 9. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of Yahuwah. What do you mean? It says, our feet have been standing within your gates, Jerusalem. Jerusalem, built as a city that is bound firmly together, to which the tribes go up, the tribes of Yahuwah. As was decreed for Yasharal to give thanks to the name of Yahuwah. Their thrones of judgment were set, the thrones of the house of David. Pray for shalom, pray for peace for Jerusalem. You know what Ayshr did when they got rid of all the idols? He said, man, it was peace, all in the land, shalom. It was. After they did what they were supposed to. But he didn't tear down the high places, though. He still had a little sin. And that little sin, man, brought death to him. And you can't have that if you're going to be a manager. You can't. People say, why? Because it's going to destroy either your house, your household, your finances, your wealth. It destroy the memory of you, your honor. Right? It destroy everything. Like, all that stuff is gone. And you got to deal with it for the rest of your life once it's destroyed. Pray for shalom for Jerusalem. May they be secure who love you. He said, what? It said, Shalamu, Shalom, Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, Yishalu, Ahabai. Right? May you be secure. Those who love you. Why? Pray for shalom for Jerusalem. And may they be secure to those who love you. It says, shalom be in your walls. And he said, now you see what? He said, man, you got them walls up real high, though. And he said, that's your idol. Your idol must be in there. Let me go in there. Your wealth, your strong city, right? Them walls real high, too. Look at your picture, your idol in that wall. Let me dig through that thing. But you got your shalom in your walls. You can't be afraid to lose it. You can't be afraid. If you're afraid to lose everything, lose things in your life, you don't be putting a wall around it. They're going to find you out. They're going to examine. Jerusalem, shalom be in your walls and security in your towers. The name of Yahuwah is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and it's safe. He said, man, run. For my brothers and my companions' sake, I say shalom within you. He say within you. You ain't got no shalom within you. When you got you got a fool's mouth, fool paw. You got a paw. Right? You say, wow, that's important. Right? For my brothers and my companions' sake, I will say shalom within you for the sake of the house of Yahuwah, our Elohim, not for the sake of you. For the sake of the whole house, I say shalom within you because for some reason you don't know what shalom is. Because all humility, all gentleness, and courtesy to all people, you don't know how to do. So for the sake of the whole house of Yasharal, not just for you and your place, I say shalom within you because you ain't got it. I will, get what it says, for the sake of the house of Yahuwah Elohim, I will seek your good. Because you're supposed to be devoting yourself to good works. You're supposed to. Right, this is the book of Sirach. You're supposed to do that. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 44 and verse 1. The book of ChayParach, chapter 44. The book of ChayParach, chapter 44 and verse 1. The book of ChayParach, chapter 44 and verse 1. Let us now praise famous men, right? That's what it says. And our fathers that begat us, right? Because remember, you all descend out from who? These people. Yahuwah had wrought great kabod by them through his great power from the beginning. Oh, from Adam all the way through, right? People say Adam wasn't great. He fell by one sin. I said, man, he's greater than you. How many times you done sinned? You know, people say, man, Adam ain't nothing. I said, okay. Whatever you want to believe, whatever you want. Dawei, it say Dawei only sinned in one manner. That's what they say, right? That's what they say. That's what they say. It says, by them, through his great power from the beginning, such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned of their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies. Leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people, wise and eloquent are their instructions. Such as found out musical tunes and recited verses in writing. Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations. How you gonna have shalom? You know, when you're rich and you're riches to go and, you know, set somebody up with the king of Assyria, and then you want to come back, then you want to act like you're going to get some honor in your death, not even knowing, then you set that person up. Then you want to get mad when somebody say you ain't nothing. Right? You ain't great, Asa. I know you want it to be. Rich men furnished with ability of living peaceably in their habitation. He said, you're going to have war. And you know what he told him? You're going to have war because you did that. All these were honored in their generations and were the kabod of their times. There be of them that have left a name behind them, and their praises might be reported. And some there be, which have no memorial. Oh, nobody even care about them. Who are perished, as though they had never been, and are become as though they had never been born, and their children after them. He said some of them they don't even know who they are. They write down the major ones, but the other ones, it's like that wise woman, nobody even know her name. You know how they say, nobody even know that woman's name. But these are merciful men, whose righteousness have not been forgotten. With their seed shall continually remain a good inheritance, and their children are within the covenant. Their seed standeth fast, and their children for their sake. Their seeds shall remain forever and ever, and their kabod shall not be blotted out. Their bodies are buried in peace. That's why he says shalom within you, because he wants you to die in peace. For Yahuwah has called us to peace. You know what Shaul said? He called everybody to shalom. He called people all quarreling and fighting and, right, and all these things. It's absolutely insane. Right? It's absolutely insane. But their name liveth forevermore. The people will tell of their wisdom, and the congregation will show forth their praise. Enoch, Hanuk, pleased Yahuwah, and was translated, being an example of repentance to all generations. Nuach was found perfect in righteousness in the time of wrath, and he was taken in exchange for the world. Therefore was he left a remnant upon earth when the flood came. So people say, I don't want to listen to what Enoch, Hanuk said. I know. I don't want to listen to what Nuach said. I know. You ain't got to read it. You ain't got to understand it. You ain't got to listen to nothing he said. Matter of fact, you can hold all malice. You know, Enoch. In 2nd Enoch, when he said, Barak is the man who have no malice toward nobody. You can just, who cares? I could care less. I know. He said, my son, love righteousness. He said, don't associate with hypocrites. Matter of fact, don't come to Yahuwah with a bad attitude, and righteousness will be your friend. You know what he said? In 1st Enoch. So he said, why would you not? Okay. Verse 18, an everlasting covenant was made with him, and all flesh should perish no more by the flood. Abraham was a great father of many people. In kabod was there none like unto him. He said, man, in glory, there was none like Abraham. who kept the Torah of the Most High and was in covenant with him. He established a covenant in his flesh. What was that? What advantage had the Yahudi? Chiefly because what advantage is circumcision? Much in every way, because he gave it to Abraham. You know why? For he committed unto him the oracles of Elohim. What if someone don't believe that Abraham was a Yahudi? And that he put a covenant in his flesh? Does it make the faith of Elohim does it make it Yahuwah alive? Nah, you alive. For Elohim, let Elohim be true, let every man be alive. Who kept the Torah of the Most High and was in his covenant with him. He established the covenant in his flesh, and when he was proved, he was found faithful. Therefore, he assured him by oath that he would barak the nations in his seed, and that he would multiply him as the dust of the earth and exalt his seed as the stars. Oh, you mean like what the man said in 2 Maccabees? He said, man, I'm going to be like the stars of the Shamayim. I'm finna go out and teach this thing. Coming out from your roots now. I'm finna get rid of all y'all and lay you flat to the ground. And guess what? I'm like Abraham's seed. Right? That's what you think. And cause them to inherit the seed to seed and the river unto the uttermost parts of the land, which exact did he establish likewise for Abraham and for his sake, the barak of all men, in the covenant, and made it rest upon the head of Yaakov. He acknowledged him in his barak, and gave him an heritage and divided his portion among the 12 tribes. Because you know the thrones are set for judgment, and the thrones of Dawid. The 12 tribes, the 12 Shalakim, who sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. Among the 12 tribes did he part them. Right? These are all a part of it, right? This is Nazarene, Ayshr Chdsh Shalakim, Basur give good news over demons. You will see how it's important to acknowledge Yahuwah and the observance of divine obedience, which not only protect those who believe from the assaults of demons, but also gives command over them that rule over others. That's the whole point. And therefore it is necessary for you are the Goyim nations, and Yasharal and Yehuda and everybody, to betake yourselves to Yahuwah and keep yourselves from all uncleanness, to the Yehuda and Yasharal first, and to the Goyim and to all people. To betake yourselves to Yahuwah and keep yourself from all uncleanness, that the demons may be expelled and that Yahuwah may dwell in you. So uncleanness can also be setting people up, using your money, right? Stealing people's stuff, using your building materials, getting angry, mistreating people, throwing other people in prison, then not seeking Yahuwah after he afflicted you with diseases and all that. He said that's uncleanness. Because you know what Ayshr didn't do? He didn't seek after what was profitable for his inner being. He didn't seek after what was profitable for his inner being. And that was Yahuwah himself. He sought out physicians and other things, but not even knowing you need to seek after what is profitable for your inner being. That's Yahuwah himself. You confess your sins and come out of Sheol. How is you going to live? He says that the demons may be expelled and Yahuwah may dwell in you. That's the whole point, because they're inside of you. That's why you got demons. That's why you got the sicknesses. That's why you got all the things, because they're inside of you. Everything is inside of you. That's why you got the affliction. That's why that king of Syria, he was trying to get him out, but he ain't understand that the demons are already inside of him. He was speaking with pride, and that's why he had a bowel in his gut. That's why he was still boasting while he was still in his sin. And all the things that was inside of him. How long Satan got people captive? He had a long time. And at the same time, by prayers, commit yourselves to Yahuwah and call for his aid against the impudent demons. For whatsoever you ask, believing you will receive. But even the demons themselves, as proportion that they see Amunah grow inside of man, woman, and children, in proportion that they depart from him, residing only in the part in which something of infidelity still remains. You know what Ayshr had? He still had a little infidelity, and that thing grew too. He said he ain't take down all the high places though. He didn't get rid of that little bit that he had. But from those who believe with full Amunah, they depart without any delay. For when a Ruach comes to the Amunah of Yahuwah, it obtains the virtue of the heavenly water, the Shamayim water, by which it extinguishes the demons like a spark of fire. That's what it do. And that's what it do. Right? Maybe I gotta do this. Right, this is Dead Sea Scrolls 4Q57. These are the paths in the world to enlighten the heart of man. Straight down in front of him all the paths of true justice. And establish his heart, respect for the precepts of Elohim, and the ruach of meekness, and all humility, and all gentleness, and all... and courtesy to all men, too. In patience and generous compassion, eternal goodness, right? You gotta have patience. That's what he told us too. All patience too. Generous compassion, eternal goodness, intelligence. And then we were just talking about all the intelligence you need to have. You need to be thoroughly. Man, matter of fact, you need to search it out and examine. What you say may be right in your first thing you was thinking, but it may not be. A ruach of knowledge in all plans of action, of enthusiasm, decrees of justice, and set apart plans with firm purpose and generous compassion with all the sons of truth. And then what King Ayshr didn't do? Man, the other king of Yasharal came, you know, a king of Yehuda. He was a king of Yehuda. King of Yasharal came, he tried to build his thing right next to mine. And he gonna block my way. He gonna block all the other people. King, man, break your covenant with him. He got some silver and gold. And they made war with him, and he stopped his work. And then he went on ahead and took his building materials and he built something else. Compassion with all the sons of truth. Magnificent purity which detests all unclean idols. He did that too. Of careful behavior and wisdom concerning everything. Man, he was a good manager at first. A concealment concerning the truth of the mysteries of the knowledge. These are the foundations of the ruachs, of the sons of truth in the world. And the reward of those who walk in it will be healing. That's why they never got healed from their diseases. Second Maccabees, Darei Hayomim 15 and 16. Right? First time. That's why they didn't get healed. Because they ain't walking in it. You gotta walk in it. How you gonna get your foot healed? You gotta walk in the truth. How you gonna get your inward man healed? You gotta seek after what's in profit for your inner being. How it says, and plentiful peace and long life. How long do people live? Did they have shalom? Nope. Fruitful offspring with an everlasting blessing. Eternal enjoyment and endless life in the crown of Kabbalah and majestic raiment and eternal light. However, the ruach of deceit belongs greed. Isn't that what he had? Sluggish in the service of justice. Them Nabi were coming at him, but he was throwing them in prison though. They weren't sluggish, boy. They were coming full go. As soon as you did it, Yahuwah was following you. He's like, yeah, I'm following you though. Falsehood. Let's line. Pride. You know what he had in the second Maccabees? Pride. Haughtiness of heart. You know what he said they had? They were haughty in heart too. Dishonesty, trickery, cruelty, much insecurity, impatience, much foolishness, impudent enthusiasm for appalling acts performed in lustful passion. Filthy past in the service of impurity, blasphemous tongue. You know what he was doing in second Maccabees? Blindness of eyes. Hardness of hearing. You know, you're supposed to hear Shema first before you speak. And if you don't do it, it's folly and sin. Stiffness of neck. Hardness of heart in order to walk in the path of darkness and evil cunning. And you know what Ayshr had? He walked in that path of darkness and evil cunning. He was cunning with it too. He was crafty. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance of afflictions of the Malachi, destruction for eternal damnation and scorching wrath of the Elohim of revengeance, right? So that's what's going to happen. It's not a game. People think it's serious, right? It says, and permanent terror and shame without end and humiliation. And what they gave him all that honor, right? They thought he did. I cut out the tomb right next to Dawid too. Matter of fact, I put the tomb there and then I got the incense ready, right? So when I die, that thing gonna be laid out. And they gave him honor too, not even knowing. Koph didn't even mention his name. You know, when he said, Dawid's dead, and his scepter right here. Notice he ain't say, Aysr's scepter right here. Notice he ain't say that. All that honor that he wanted, he never got. And his memory, it's a lot of stuff. But you got it for an example though. Because we thinking like everybody was great. When you start examining, you start to see these same behaviors that one has done throughout their life. And the visitation of those who walk in it will be abundance of afflictions of the Malachia of destruction for eternal damnation and scorching wrath of the Elohim of revenges for permanent terror and shame without end with the humiliation and destruction of the fire of the dark regions and all the ages of their generations. They shall spend in bitter weeping and harsh evils to the abyss of the darkness until destruction. You know we read in 2 Maccabees? Man, he said he died. You saw how he died. Without there being a remnant or survival for them. He said, please be kind to my son after I die. Because he already know they're going to get him. They're like, man, we finna take this dude out. For everything you just said, and he wrote that letter to them, he already knew. Please don't do nothing to him. He got a good heart too. Right, here we go. Right, so this Kepha, it says palm leaf. Right, so this is the 11th month. This is the last day of the 11th month. Palm leaf, productivity, fruitfulness, teaching, reproducing, hollow hand, powerful handful. Right, Kepha, spoon, the hollow rock to open. Kepha. Right, these are all a part of it. So this is the 11th month, powerful handful. Right? Productivity, fruitfulness, right? These are all the things that one has to have, right? All this is a part of it. Reproducing, right? This is Nazarene, actually the child of King, suggestion of the old serpent. Above all things, you ought to understand the deception of the old serpent and his cunning suggestions to deceive you as it were by prudence, as by sword creeps through your senses, deceiving you a great gain. Therefore, he enunciates in your minds opinions of Elohim, and whatsoever kinds, only that your sin will be his comfort. That's the whole point. That's the only way you can stay in. That's why Ayshr got afflicted. Only way you can make sin uncomfortable is with the bar, prayer, fasting, all that. That's the only way you can make sin uncomfortable. You can't allow yourself to get comfortable in sin. The same thing that man did in 2 Maccabees. For his immorality was condemned from the beginning, eat dust. For he caused to begin again, resolved to the dust him who was taken by the dust. That's the only reason he's getting inside of you. Because he want to take you to your grave in sin. That's all he's doing it for. Even till the time when your beings were restored, being brought through the fire, as we will instruct you more fully at another time. For Yahuwah shows you your sin, you just don't know it. He said, make it be in your Gogoroth. That's why we take Pesach. People say, why you take Pesach? So, Mastama? Because you're going to find out where Mastama at. People say, why? Because it's important, man. You're going to find out. That's why he said you're going to put that stuff in your body. Because that's why right then they had the adultery test. People say, why you had the adultery test? People say, because as soon as you drink it, it's going to show on your body where you at. It's going to show where the sin is at. Right? If you say, what? It shows where the sin is at. That's why he make us do these certain practices. That's why we take Pesach, bitter herbs, wine, bread, all that mixing. It creates a reaction in the body that causes things to show on you. It's a part of it. It show you where your sin is. And it show you why it's there. And then he takes it from you and then it goes away. But then at the same time, sometimes it stays. Because you got to do it again and again and again and again. Even to the time when your beings will be restored, being brought through the fire, as we will instruct you more fully at another time. Because that's what it all is. From him, therefore, proceeds all errors and doubts. That's all he's trying to get you to do. Why do you think Satan do all this affliction? He try to get you to do errors and doubts, get you comfort in your sin. You'll never seek Yahuwah for all the things that's happening to you. That's the only reason he was doing it. I'm your God. I'm your praise. I'm your everything. My physicians. My suggestions and my solutions, right? Little leaven leavens a whole lump. By which you are driven from Amunah and belief in one Elohim Yahuwah. That's all it is. I don't want you to believe it. I don't want you to pray to him. I don't want you to give him no praise. I don't want you to even do nothing for him. I want you to do it for me. Sirach 12, 1 through 7. Sirach 12, 1 through 7. When thou wilt do good, know to whom thou doest it. So shalt thou be thanked for thy benefits. Do good to the godly man, righteous man, and thou shalt find a recompense. And if not from him, yet from the Most High, Yahuwah. You're going to get something. Therefore can no good come to him that is always occupied in evil. man, ain't nothing gonna come good to you. You always occupied in quarreling, fighting, hatred, jealousy, envy, strife, fornication, adultery, not trusting Yahuwah, setting people up, plotting and scheming, stealing other people's stuff. And that's all you occupied in. Ruach of hatred, working together with Satan, that's all you doing. Lying, working, proud, boastful, arrogant. Nor to him that giveth no alms, right? You don't do nothing? You won't give nothing? Give to the righteous man or woman and help not the sinner. He said, why he say help not the sinner? Do well to him that is lowly, but give not to the unrighteous. Hold back thy bread. That's what it say here, right? And give it not unto him, lest he overmaster thee thereby, for else thou shalt receive twice as much evil for all the good that thou hast done unto him. He like, you already did good to him, but you give him your bread, but he finna, he coming at you full go. You already did good for him. But he said, you gonna give him more stuff? You can get twice as evil, because he gonna hear your bread, he gonna eat your bread, and he gonna come at you even more. Because a fool's lips will bring him all into a fight. He'll invite a beating too. Here go the bread. And he gonna do more evil to you, because I'm giving you more bread. For the Most High hateth sinners, and will repay vengeance unto the unrighteous. It don't matter who you are. And keepeth them against the mighty day of their punishment. Give unto the good and help not the sinner. Right? That would it say, right? This Matthew chapter 5, verse 43. It says, you have heard it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. You know what the man wrote in the 2nd Maccabee? He's like, man, look at him. I pray that I can get away from this sickness, but my son, right? But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be the sons of your Father who is in Shamayim. Now you see what? For he makes the sun rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do you even the tax collectors do the same? For if you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? You ain't doing nothing. You know, people say, I'm doing a whole bunch. You ain't doing nothing. Do not even the goyim do the same? You therefore must be perfect, even as your Father in Shamayim is perfect. It's been said, don't help no sinner, right? Don't do nothing, right? But why he's telling you to do this? Because he's trying to get you to exceed. Because you know how you get comfortable. This is Romans 12, 14 to 21. Barak those who persecute you. Bless those who do not curse, and do not curse them. Rejoice with those who rejoice. Weep with those who weep. Live in harmony with one another. Do not be haughty, but associate with the lowly. Do good to the lowly. Never be wise in your own sight. Repay no one evil for evil. But give thought to what to do is honorable in the sight of all. That's why you got to be courtesy to all people. Submit to all humility and all gentleness. If possible, as it depends on you, live peaceably with all. Because how you going to have shalom? You got to have shalom on the inside. You're supposed to die in shalom, in peace. Or you're going to have war. That's what he ain't do. Ayshr ain't do. The man built the place, but he was coming out and he's like, man, I'm going to set this person up, man. Break your covenant. Beloved, never avenge yourselves. Leave it to the wrath of Yahuwah, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says Yahuwah. To the contrary, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. He'll go your bread. And if he is thirsty, give him something to drink. Here go your bread and your water. You think Mashah, that woman thought he was her enemy? When he was in prison for 10 years, she gave him bread and water? No. She was just being kind. Give him something to drink, for by doing so, you heap coals of fire on his head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. He said, don't be overcome with evil, but overcome evil with good. Sirach 3, 17 through 23. My son and daughter, go on thy business in meekness, Anu. So should I be beloved of him that is approved. You got to stay humble. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. You got to go even more humble. Because when you start getting more stuff, you got to get more humble. Amen. And thou shalt find favor before Yahuwah. That's the only way you can maintain your favor. So the more you get, the more humble you got to get. That's only going to keep your favor. You ain't going to keep it after that. If you don't have to keep that humility, you're going to lose what he gave you. Many are in high places of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the Anu, the meek. For the power of Yahuwah is great, and his honor with the lowly. It's always going to be like that, regardless. Once you see yourself getting afflicted, you need to get low. I ain't talking about yin and yang. I'm talking about getting low to the ground and bowing and confessing your sins and getting yourself right with Yahuwah, so you can rise with the Ruach again, and you can come up. He'll exalt you in due time. That's the whole point. In due time, at the appointed time. You'll see signs every now and then, but he just keeps you down. But that's just the whole point. Seek not out things that are too hard for thee, neither search for things that are above thy strength. Don't be doing it. I assure you, when Yahuwah afflict your health, it's above your strength. You think, you be like, I'm finna survive this. I'm finna, man. You fall into the hands of Yahuwah. It's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of Yahuwah, boy. But Dawid said, I'm gonna fall into the hands of Yahuwah, right? He said it's a fearful thing, though. Even though you fall in the hands of Yahuwah, now people say that. They quote that. I'm gonna fall into the hands of Yahuwah. My enemies are cruel, right? You're supposed to love your enemies, too. I'm gonna fall into the hands of Yahuwah. Boy, it's a fearful thing to fall into the hands of Yahuwah, because you don't know what he gonna do. Man, we don't be knowing. You be like, I'm gonna fall into the hands of Yahuwah. You be like, you better, man, Yahuwah, have mercy on me, a sinner. For what is commanded thee, think thereupon with reverence. For it is not needful for thee to see with thine eyes the things that are in secret. Be not curious in unnecessary matters. For me, more things are showed unto thee than men and women and children understand. Right? So this is the last thing, the Essenes of peace. Essene of shalom, Essene of peace. Right, this is page 264. Page 264 of the Essene Communions. It says, on the first evening after Shabbat, right, that's now. Right, it's going down. Say these words, Malak of eternal life, descend upon me and give eternal life to my Ruach. And close your eyes, sons of light, and sleep in contemptible the oneness of all life everywhere. For I tell you truly, in the daylight hours are our feet on the ground, and we have no wings with which to fly. But our ruachs are tied to the earth, and with the coming of night we overcome our attachment to the earth and joined to that which is eternal. For the son of Adam is not all that he seems, and only with the eyes of the Ruach can we see those golden threads which link us with all life everywhere. Right? So we look at all that. We look at Yahushua Mashiach. We look at everything that happens and everything that's going to happen. Well, it's only one Akkad Ba'ith body. There's only one house. There's only one Akkad Ruach. And there's only one hope, one Tikva, Akkad Tikva in our calling. You answer the call, and you have to submit to all gentleness, all humility, and he said courtesy of all people. You have to devote yourself to good works. If you don't stay in humility, the greater you become, you'll find yourself like many examples in the Torah, where you have to get into situations, you have to humble yourself, but you're going to end up committing sin in the process. And it's always been like that for 6,000 or many thousands of years. For human beings, believer and non-believer, believer in Yahuwah and those who forsook you, people who believe in Yahuwah and then they forsook him and they went back, or people just don't even believe in him at all. All men are being watched by Yahuwah. And whatever you do to others, it's going to come right back to you. It don't matter who you are. Right? You want to be young and a child and you want to do something evil to somebody, it's going to come back to you. Right? You want to steal something from somebody, it's going to come back to you. You want to set somebody up, plot and scheme and do evil to somebody and slander somebody, it's going to come back to you. all things come back to you, right? All things, the afflictions and things that we do, we repent and we ask Yahuwah for forgiveness. But all things work together for the good of them who love Yahuwah and are called according to the purpose. We make mistakes, but then those mistakes, one has to learn how to walk and in true righteousness and in a true mind, knowing that Yahuwah is always watching. He always inside of you, and He wait for you to seek Him out. But if you seek things that's outside of yourself, and you seek them more than you seeking within and seeking Yahuwah, because the only way you're gonna find Him, He always been there. It's just the fact that you just left Him. And then when He leave you, you go down there and pray. You be like, why you not answering me? Because I ain't there. Then you gotta pray to Him and say, have mercy on me. Please come back. Right? Amazing people do that for relationships in this natural world. But Yahuwah say, well, how come you don't do that for me? And you'll go all out the way to go get somebody else in your physical reality. But you won't go all out the way to get me back inside of you. So we look at all the priorities and things that we put in front. He said, Yahuwah said, do you love me like I love you? Right? That's the whole point. Do you love me like I love you? Because Yahuwah always been loving, man. He the lover of souls. He the lover of, the fash. But when you start getting things that become a snare to your soul, you're going to find yourself empty without Him. You become a violation of the Torah. Yahuwah works while it's day. He'll a cloud by day, and He'll a pillar of fire by night. So they said, will your fire go out during the nighttime, during the watch hours of the night, or will it continue to be lit in your manure that you may be able to see? So we look at all these things, Let's go on our business and Aynu. They say, Shavua Tov, for the meek shall inherit the earth. The meek, Aynu, shall inherit the earth.